washing machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. You'll feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises over the top. Don't cross the line, and you know it's right. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Let's see. Let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Let's see. Let's roll.
Huh. Okay, sorry, you guys are muted. Just unmute yourselves. Welcome Thursday. It's Thursday. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
All
It's
day.
Thursday.
It's Thursday all day.
It's been a great day.
Yeah. For me, it has. I
Productive
can't
week.
speak for nobody else.
Productive week on Avenue on Broadway. Out there 5 minutes and the cops come. And then they wrote out a ticket to somebody. Because when you call the cops on El Rampador, you call the cops on yourself. And that was great. That was great. And then, I forgot to tell you, South Amboy business administrator called me. And Bear, you were there. He was like, we're going to look into getting a ramp. Because this is a different administration. We're going to look
I sent you the
into getting
audio.
a ramp at the South Amboy.
I sent you the audio.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I texted to you.
I should play it.
Yeah, you should have it in your text messages.
I should play it.
I liked in one of your interactions this week when you were casually talking to the officer and said, "So how do you do a sting operation here?" Like this? You know, there's no good answer. Like, well, we don't. We leave that up to you.
Let's not call it that.
And then you're there like when the big friend comes by saying things to Carl's like, "Yeah, you're slowing down now, aren't you?" What do you do? What do you do? Wave at them and point at the cop, you know?
Antagonize them. How fair is that?
And how often do you see the same person there? I mean, you got to see one person more than the others, you know? Anybody ever come and say, "Hey, Lefty, another call, you know, got to come. How are you? Hey, let's see if I can catch somebody while you're here. I'll hide behind this car."
They don't have to hide. People are so ignorant. They just, they'll run a cop over.
Hey, you know, I'm real happy. I was saying before you got to figure out, like, you know, how much kind of ground you've covered there, how many times you've been there. And then I realized, you know, modern technology, Google Earth gave me everything that I needed to know. I looked up the intersection, found out exactly how many feet it was along the inside line of the walkways in a square.
Whoa, really?
Oh, yeah. Do you realize that if you you go 2 3/4 miles per hour on the average, if it's 45 seconds a lap, I believe I got it written down somewhere. 18 laps equals a mile. And basically, if you went there 1 hour a day for 21 consecutive days, you could get all the way from there to Timbuktu. Literally, Timbuktu, New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a phrase everybody knows nationwide. All the way to Timbuktu. But you could do that in however many hours that is. You're muted, Sue.
That's funny. Sue, are you talking to us?
Yeah.
Sue, are
Yes.
you talking to us?
I was.
We couldn't hear you.
No, you weren't.
Well, somebody muted me.
I think Lefty did it.
Yeah.
Lefty must have done it.
Hey, mute you.
Do you
Austin.
know that
They made-
federal officers are not required to identify themselves?
Say again?
What?
Did you know that federal officers?
Oh, federal. Yeah, I think I did
Yeah.
know that.
Did you know that?
What's that?
Yeah, I think I found that. I think I found that out somewhere along
Yeah,
the
this
line.
right here.
I thought it was just somebody. I'd go for a bluff if I mean, I'm not that kind of activist. If a law enforcement authority figure wants to force something on me, like I don't have to give him my name, I'm not really going to fight him over something like that, And I think that happened to me one time in Washington.
Yeah, but that's like a serious threat, though. You
Yeah.
know, because I mean
Oh.
that could be that.
I know what it was. Yeah,
that
there
could
was
be Jeffrey Dahmer like standing in front of you, and in some kind of federal. Come
Yeah.
on, he can buy a uniform.
I was,
Not him personally, but
when I was in Cocoa Beach for the winter building a deck, the people I hung around with were a little bit rowdy sometimes, and they were in a boat, and that's near Canaveral, or we're very high security around here, and Homeland Security. We were adrift because the engine gave out and had like an altercation with a sign boat guy who tried to tow us in, but this guy was drunk. And anyway, the whole thing. And when we got back, it was the best we could figure, Homeland Security. And I forget what it was that he showed like for ID, but it was almost assuredly that. And I didn't really care, Give me a 6-pack of beer, then I'm just going to smile and say, "Hey, are you really?" But yeah, I don't like that at all. I didn't know that I didn't have to give up the information I did when we were in Washington with Cheryl and Gary Stork and Jackie Rickert, and when we went to Bob Barr's office to get, just because I was arrested there the year before, so we're just gonna get a photo op. We all went up there and we got a photo op from somebody delivering a package. But before that, a guy came walking down this lonely hallway, and of all office doors, he went in Bob Barr's, and he gave us a really strange look. So what happened is after we had the picture, we were out in front and leaving, actually on the sidewalk, and Capitol Police came out, about like 6 of them, and told us, like halt or hold it right there. I mean, we had 2 wheelchairs. We weren't going to really run we're going to break up and run, But Gary should have like tapped me on the shoulder or something like that, because when it got to him and they asked him, I don't know, it was more than his name. They wanted identification and his social security number. That was it.
oh no.
No, they actually asked for it,
Really?
Yeah, and then he scolded them. It was really, really, really funny, That worked out bad for them because, see, then what they did is they knew that I'd been barred from being on Capitol Hill, but it was for 6 months, not a year. So I guess there was some clarity. Oh, that's the guy who's not allowed on Capitol Hill. Like they're just sick him on me,
Well, what made you not be allowed on Capitol Hill? What did you do?
Because I was arrested for the time
indecent
that
exposure?
the time Cheryl was laying in his office doorway.
Yeah.
Well, I got arrested and she wasn't, and I had to plead guilty because they planned a 4-day trial, knowing that they weren't going to be able to take care of Cheryl, and I didn't have anybody take care of her.
Jim, everybody froze.
Yeah, they hustled me, and whatever, I wasn't out there to set the world on fire. I made my point.
Hey, does anyone have a TV on or something?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No,
What is that? I hear one in the background.
Who's talking?
Yeah, hold on. That's probably.
Is that Bear?
Hold on. It might be here.
Look at
I
check
think,
out
yeah,
how he's looking.
it's either a TV or it's okay. Just for when our guest comes on, I want to make sure we can hear our guest because
Yeah, he's gonna have an audience too. He was like really super excited. It's so cute.
Sam's great.
Yeah.
Follow him on Facebook, Instagram, wherever he's at. I'll follow him because he's a smart guy.
He's so excited.
He's good. Let's see. Do I have the audio ready? Let's see. Am I connected? I'd like to play this for you if I could. We're not connected. Hold on.
Jim, you're muted.
Yeah, it was really good because if I say something stupid and I think, I wish I hadn't said that, and then you say you're muted, this is like, good job, guys. I'm feeling lucky.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those nights.
That was not just me, right?
No,
Okay.
No.
that was Lefty.
Ooh. I mean, I took some balm, but that would have been too much, audio hallucination like that.
That was Lefty making noises.
Here we go.
Hi, Edward Grimes, please.
Yeah, this is him.
Edward Grimes. My name is David Kales. I'm a business administrator in South Amboy.
Oh, yeah. Hi. We met at the council meeting.
Yeah, we met at the council meeting. The reason I'm calling you back is I just finally, so my engineer was on vacation last week. I did call you last week twice, but I didn't get a pickup. I just want to let you know that I did meet with him today. And we just have been discussing, the handicap access down to the police station. And he asked him to do some research for me regarding what do you have to work with it. I just want to give you a call back and tell you that we can look into that even further for you. Okay.
I can't understand.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's really that's great. It's a great start.
I like him, man.
Like I said, we need to start.
I don't have a
What
lighter.
happened prior to me being here, I speak on the past business administrator, but I just want to let you know that, I did reach out to them. Posted on we're moving forward with it.
Great, I appreciate that, man. Is this your extension? Can I get your extension?
That's interesting. Very interesting.
What, did he hang up on you?
No, I just didn't want to put the number out there. It's just,
Okay.
it's just his extension.
Okay.
So-
I couldn't really get the full effect of what he was saying. What did
Well,
he say?
They're going to look into trying to get a ramp in that small space there,
Oh, okay.
if it's possible. And I guess they're trying to avoid a confrontation with Rattari.
Rattari and Al Rampador.
Yeah, because they're coming.
What a team.
They're coming.
Hmm.
And I just got word that Bongholio is going to be playing at the opening for Mad Hatter on the 7th.
No, that's nice.
Yeah, we're going to do a little set together at some point. He's going to play, and then we're going to play at the end a little bit sometime. So I got to practice.
Good. That'll be fun.
That should be real fun. I haven't seen Bongholio in a while. Bongholio. Bongholio.
Hey,
Bongholio.
where's Wayne? What happened to Wayne? I haven't seen him around in a few years.
Yeah, I don't know. He's doing his own thing, whatever that is.
I know he's a Trumpster because he shows up on, some things I post every once in a while.
Oh yeah, he'll talk crap to you.
Yeah,
Yep.
he does. But you know what? Because he's Wayne, I don't bother to answer him.
As you can see, I'm wearing my Kennedy hat. Kennedy 24. Woo-woo!
Hey, when you're done with that, we got a what do you call a bust of John Kennedy. It's been in the backyard garden area for like 15.
Oh yeah,
years.
I've seen it.
You've seen it,
Put a
right?
good
Yeah.
hat on there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Great picture. All right, you got
Oh
it.
wait, the hat might burst into flames if I do that, though.
Yeah, that's true. Or a worm might come out.
It's funny because some
Poor
people,
guy.
you know, I forget about it, and eventually somebody's there. I mean, hardly anybody comes over, but when they do, you know, is that Kennedy? We dress them different for each season.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad he doesn't get cold.
No, he has cool stuff on in winter. Sometimes
Mhm.
shades and a hat. You know,
Mhm.
his head is a little wider, I guess, in a bust because, like, I only have one pair of these kind of wide sunglasses that didn't break, so you know, put that on.
Well, faces change as we age, so you figure how old.
Yeah, I know that every time I just love doing it. It could be on the phone most all the time, but Sean, oh look, here's that 98 newscast of getting arrested with Charlotte, you know, and I wait for it because it takes about like 8-10 seconds, and it looks like this. Somebody grabs it, you know, whether they can even hear it or not a little bit, and they go. And they're looking back and forth from me to the phone, you know.
Mhm.
I've seen that happen on a podcast one time, I think. Yeah, that's right. Who was it? It was Mike, I think. Robinson. Yeah, that's who it was.
There's Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hey,
Hello.
Sam.
How are you guys
Hey,
doing?
yeah. What's up, Sam?
What's up, buddy?
Not a whole lot. Just trying to, relax a little bit. It's been busy lately.
Oh
You've
yeah,
been real busy, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just a whole lot of different things going on. I've been working on like a hotline for people to call about cannabis questions. And a bunch of other stuff too, but that's kind of been one of the main things.
Well, it seems like that's a real good thing for a lot of people to have because every time, you know, some people, when they're being educated, like, no, it's not that easy. You know, if you really wanted to do it right, they're always going to need advice. Kind of like I need advice with a freaking computer because I'm a tech dinosaur. You know, I mean, I have people, you know, and so would you be one of my people? and then maybe doing something about growing next year. I don't know, but
oh yeah,
you know,
I'd definitely be happy to help.
And you know what happens when patients can grow their own in New Jersey? They don't know how.
And like,
they don't know how, and you're gonna have your feet on the ground already for all that time. So.
And even like separate from growing, I just find that there's so many questions in this space, and there's there's so little information. Most of the like best information just comes from like people that have been involved with this stuff for a really long time, and those people are not always accessible to the general community. Just because, like, you know, they've been growing for a long time, so they chill in their basement and don't really talk to people and don't tell people that they grow for certain. So it's nice to be like, I know all those people and I can get answers to questions from them. I can have these conversations with them. And I have had a lot of conversations about a lot of different things already. So it's nice to be able to kind of like be that in between for the old school community that has a lot of real knowledge and the people that are kind of just getting into things.
That would be us old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, a lot of the older generation is the ones just getting into it, and they are the ones with the most questions, and
really,
they are the ones least likely to have someone to ask those questions to. So,
really,
I mean, in my experience, we have like a lot of older generation crowd, like 60s, like retirement age, coming into like for their first cannabis experiences, and some of them are a little bit more on the medical side, and some are just coming in to try it. And there's always a lot of like first timer questions, and I find that like I can see when people have questions and they won't necessarily ask unless you like press them about it, and I think that comes from just like a little bit of like embarrassment to like ask in the middle of the dispensary. So I think it's a good resource to be able for people to be able to contact us when they're in their own private space on their own time. And we're working on like putting together a website and like a dictionary and things like that. 'Cause like that's another thing. It's like someone could ask me a question and my question has like all this jargon in it that like, you know, like I could spend an hour explaining a pretty simple thing just because all the words to explain it are, you know, also require explanations. So I think it would be nice to have a dictionary to point people towards, so that way we can kind of get people on the same page with different things. And there's also just so many like colloquial terms that like I'll use a different word than someone even just like in South Jersey will. Like it's not even like a state by state thing or anything like that. Like we have so many different terms for what we call weed in New Jersey. So it would be nice to like, you know, kind of get everyone on the same page with different things.
Yeah, a place where they can get on that page, you know. I mean, it sounds like especially with a website, you know, so people will know that you exist. And I don't know, you get a good jump on something that is really more necessary the more legal things become in New Jersey. You know, and home grow is coming to patients and it's coming to adults in New Jersey, you know, I mean, however, you know, when that happens, it's going to be nice if there's somewhere to be comfortable asking questions, you know, and actually I could use that a lot at times because, you know, 4 decades ago, I knew what there was to know, and I had a high pressure sodium freaking street light is what it really was, but it was, you know, and I got these just before what they had called Operation Green Merchant, where what they would do is they would get UPS or the main delivery, you know, and they would get the addresses of where they send these, and then they would go there like 3 months later hoping for something, you know. And I got mine before that. So, I mean, I felt like, holy crap, that's the one time I really won. And then it was nice because then I had a really coveted item when I went to sell it. It was like, oh, yeah, I got one. It was, and
oh, yeah, because no one wants to be like tracked buying one of those.
Yeah. Oh, but see, it was also, this is back when I was considered clever for rigging up a system that would drip vinegar into baking, no, whatever, it produces nitrogen, vinegar and baking soda. I can't remember now, but it had a whole thing where it was in a gallon and a little tube coming out, and damn if everything didn't go awesome with that, you know. But that required going to a pet supply store to get the proper pet cocks and the tubing for everything. But this was also at a time when there wasn't much talk of sativa or indica, you know, much less anything to do with CBD. It was long before that. So it wasn't hard to be in the upper third of knowledge about growing, you know. And now I am so far close to the bottom. I am not only never the smartest guy in the room, I'm often the one with the least knowledge, you know.
It's a lot to keep up with, honestly. Like, there's
I'm not putting
so much information.
But, you know, I live in a world that, you know, if I know people who know something more than me, and there's something I might know more than them, we kind of coexist. And I don't feel the need, not to reinvent the wheel, to, you know, there's just some things that there's so much I'd rather ask somebody that's already spent the time, you know, and so this is
I get that. There's whole areas just like I feel very educated on cannabis, but there's whole areas of cannabis that I'm like, I am not prepared to do that.
Yeah, well, I've been waiting for legality being a patient, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, my patience is kind of thin.
What kind of stuff are you learning, Sam, that you're talking about, that you're just learning about now? What's cutting edge for you right now?
For me, it's a lot of the new science that's coming out on like aroma and flavor stuff. For
terpenes,
like, well, it's like
terpenes?
beyond terpenes actually. Like they've
The
found
flavonoids?
that terpenes actually contribute very little to like the differentiating smells of cannabis. They kind of like the way that they are with all the different terpenes mixing together, it's very hard to actually differentiate a specific terpene in a profile. Like what they actually have been saying is that like one of the few terpenes that you can actually like distinguish in most strains when it's present is terpenoline, which is the Jack like lemon cleaner, like kind of like European hazes and anything like Jack Herrera kind of stuff is gonna have that kind of a smell to it. And that's
What
kind
does
of
that
the
smell like?
like, huh?
What does it smell like?
It smells like a like lemon cleaner almost,
Okay.
like very sharp.
Okay.
And that's one of the few terpenes that is actually like distinguishable in different aromas. What they are finding now is that there's a whole class of chemicals. There's a whole class of chemicals that like they're calling flavorants, and those are more
Flavonoids.
contribute to the differentiating smells and flavors. One thing that like I found really interesting this year was there's a patient that I work with that has epilepsy, and one thing that she had found that was pretty good for her was like papaya type strains, and there's like a very pungent aroma that comes from those. And we were always talking about how like it didn't seem to match with any terpene profile. It just didn't quite seem to make sense. And then this company out of, I believe they're out of California, they go by Abstracts with an X. They discovered a whole bunch of new flavor and aroma compounds, and one of those classes of compounds was Tropicana sulfur compounds, and they are actually the things that produce that papaya smell, like those really strong, really pungent, like overripe fruit kind of thing. And so for like that research, we had been talking about this since like late last year, and when we first saw this research paper, it was in April, I believe, around then. So like we had been talking about it for months before we ever saw the research about how like we were pinpointing that smell with our noses and we were picking it out, but we were having trouble finding it on panels. And then this research came out and it showed us that like no one was ever testing for it before. They didn't know it was there. No one knew what it was. And so like for me, like that's the cutting edge science. And the other side of that science was that so the other, like they basically discovered 3 classes of flavorants. Those 3 classes, there was a whole bunch of other ones, but the 3 like main flavoring classes they discovered were the chems and the sours, the like very tropical, like very fruity things, and then the sweet dessert types. I cannot smoke almost anything related to Girl Scout cookies. Don't know what it is exactly, though I kind of think it's related to some of these flavoring compounds. I have really no way of knowing yet. That'll be kind of like, you know, the next science that I'm really excited for is like how some of these new things they're finding like actually affect people. But for now, it's just cool to know that they exist, because I'm finding something that like, so I can't smoke really anything related to Girl Scout cookies except for like 2 things. Those 2 things are GMO cookies and Trop cookies, which are the 2 compounds that are like, well, which would be the two, like, Girl Scout cookies crosses that actually carry the other two flavorant profiles rather than the sweet desserty type. And so, like, when I was reading that research, that clicked in my brain, and I just found that very, very interesting that they had kind of picked out these three classes, and I can't really do the one, and the two things that actually, like, I can do that have that one strain in it don't carry that profile in any way. And so I always find that very interesting that it's that I've noticed at least a pattern there. I can't say that there's a cause and effect for sure, but I definitely have noticed a really interesting pattern. And yeah, so for me, like, that's kind of been the most exciting and cutting edge science is some of that research. But I'm excited to see where that research goes also, as we learn more. Also, the there's a few different groups working together on it's called Smokeability. It's a big research collaboration between the C Research Coalition, Riley Kirk and Miyabi Shields at Applied Pharmacognosy, Abstracts, and there's definitely a bunch of others involved. I cannot remember all of them off the top of my head, but those are some of the ones that I follow most closely along with. And the science of smokeability is all about what it implies. It's all about the consumer's end experience and trying to link, various cultivation, dry cure, nutrients, and all these different things to what consumers smoking a joint would actually say about that flower. And it's all about trying to improve cultivation practices and stuff from a very scientific standpoint, which is really interesting because, like, I know we see it in New Jersey. Our industry could certainly be better. And, from, I think from a lot of people's perspectives, it doesn't seem that hard, but I think there is really a lot that goes into, that end experience. And so I think, being in a space where we can get really scientific, and they're using all kinds of crazy equipment that just seems like insane that we could have and we could be using. But it's really interesting to be able to see some of that stuff going on and see where that research is going to go as well, and see how that improves cultivation practices and see how people are able to, I think everyone should be able to access good weed, whether they have a small budget, big budget, whatever. So I would love to see, some of the science lead to some improvements in New Jersey for patients.
It occurs to me, this could be pretty exciting for somebody like me, not to become that person that knows, but to know people, that keep up with everything you're saying. Because, like, at some point, wouldn't it be necessary to have a focus group of just, somebody that would volunteer to take part with testing, especially if it's something for taste? And, I've never been one for being a cannabis cup judge because I always like what I just had last best. What kind of judge is that, And it takes kind of the fun out for me.
I was part of a focus group.
Yeah, I know.
For wacky weed.
Yeah, well, what I guess I'm learning now is, certainly 4 decades ago, and I go back 52 years for my 50. I don't know, maybe more than that now, but terpenes wasn't a word that anybody knew, much less sativa or indica. Although that happened, and all sorts of things coming along, but what everybody's noticed is, yeah, that had shit weed, you had seeds and everything, but even within all that, there was always something that was like, yeah, juicy fruit. It smelled like juicy fruit gum. It kind of got in the back of your throat like juicy fruit gum. I love that. I didn't even care so much about the high at first. It was just that really was good. And I haven't smelled a skunk in I don't know how long, but I get in trouble when I was well, not in trouble because that's a
This, I,
relative
I will
word,
say,
but
this year there have been two things that I have smelled that actually smell like skunk. And as someone
really
who's young,
awesome. You know,
yeah,
I
as
mean,
someone young, like
yeah, I feel
long
like
past any of that stuff had been around, that was really cool. That was,
I feel like I'm rooting for extinction not to be reality in some of these cases, you know, because it wasn't just that there was like a lot of like lemony sort of flavored stuff, but it was always something like that and the cloying effect that it would stick to things too. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you would smell like it,
Mhm.
and not when you wanted to, you know. Of course, I always found it to be fun in a way, bragging if I had to go in an elevator way back and I had that. I not always smoke it. I'd exhale it down and let it get on me, and then get in an elevator, and then look around at people. Hey, I smell pot. What's up? You know, and it would throw everybody off because I'd be the bold one coming and accusing, and you know, people like farting in an elevator and laughing at somebody else past gas, you know, and they know it was you. I don't know. But I really miss that there's a big absence of something I know is good. I know it's gonna make me feel good, but it doesn't have that taste, you know, that I miss that. Now I'm
yeah.
starting to find out why. I mean, I guess you start blending a lot of things together, you know, and hybrids and what have you, you know.
Well, so like another thing that like I've learned over the past years that like terpenes are the cycle that creates terpenes is heavily based on carbon, and a lot of nutrients for the past however long have not really been so heavily carbon based. And so I think that has played a lot into it. And I'm very big on organics and like living soil and stuff like that, which definitely provides that stuff to the plant. Um, so yeah, I think
What is
that
that?
actually
What is that?
provides
Korean?
that more positive experience, is that it actually is getting a full nutrition.
You have something called Korean natural farming. What's that?
That is something I've learned about it a lot. I haven't gotten a chance to like actually work with it a ton personally. But that is like, so there was a man named they call him Master Cho, and he invented a way of farming because they're on this like island off the coast of Korea, so it's secluded and they didn't really have access to a lot of you know, different things, so they had to learn to, you know, use kind of every scrap they had and reuse their natural resources. So kind of the base starting for that is that you would go find a very healthy area in the forest, and you can do it with something as small as like a mason jar, or you can go as big as, you know, a cardboard box. You don't need that much to start like your own home thing, but you take a mason jar, fill it up with like half cooked rice. So, you know, you use just like less water, so that way it's a little bit hard. And then instead of sealing that, take a paper towel and put it over the lid, and then still use the rings, so that way you can secure that paper towel on top of it. And then you'll go and you'll take that out to like a really healthy place in the forest, preferably like an old growth forest if you can find one. And you want to just find something that, because in nature the plants feed off by using the microbes that are in the soil. So what you do is you go out into the forest and you find somewhere with a lot of healthy growth and a lot of diverse things, and you'll leave your mason jar or your cardboard box there for up to a week or so, and then you can go and collect that, and the microbes will actually colonize on there, and you can use that to inoculate your soil, and you'll be utilizing those microbes that were feeding, you know, trees that have been growing for hundreds of years or whatever the case may be.
Huh.
And then from there you can create like by using like old vegetative growth or old flowering growth and fruiting and stuff like that, you can use those microbes to break down that, and the like liquid that's left over at the end can be used as vegetative nutrients and flowering and fruiting nutrients.
Holy shit. Yeah. Come a long way. I'm not in Kansas now. I mean, I've never been in Kansas, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's,
Wow.
it's, it's so nice that this can be looked into without the fear that was around for decades of even doing this. The freedom of minds that are good at this and want to be good at this. It's not like you're looking over your shoulder all that much. I mean, one, not you. I'm saying one does not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And
I feel really lucky to be around at this time. I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people that I wouldn't have gotten to know before, or at least not know that they were growing. I've heard a lot of really interesting, really heartwarming stories, and a lot of pretty crazy, not so great stories that I wouldn't want to experience. And that I think it's just important that people know that those things happened, because, like, you know, for people like just a little bit younger than me, like I never experienced those things, and I never will. I really don't know how it was, but I've at least gotten to talk to the people that do. Whereas like some of the guys that are a little bit younger than me and maybe haven't, you know, just like, you know, been involved with the community as long, like maybe haven't met some of those people and don't really know what it was like. And, you know, it's nice to be in that place where I can,
yeah,
you know, still have that respect for it. But you know,
it's what's the word? Unfettered. Yeah, I like to use one new word a day when I can. I've never actually say that in conversation, but it fits that if you want to. Okay, you know, Operation Green Merchant. I mean, Jesus, that was just for having a small closet grow, and I had a whole Operation Green Merchant. You know, to get down to any of the scientific aspects and be really immersed in it, it was really not widespread. The opposite. It was just like pockets of people that were learning, you know. And
yeah,
it's funny because without social media and interconnectivity, it's all like blossomed so quickly. I mean, even in the time we've had Facebook, what I've seen available that I can look at all over, you know, uh, about growing.
yeah,
It's just like it's never ending. You know, it's fascinating. But I'm just hoping people, you know, I can trade service with get really good at that, because there must be something I'm good at I could give in return. I've always had quite the relationship with the good herb, and it's just fun to see it being explored at the level you're talking about too. You know.
yeah. It really is interesting. I've always, like, you know, for me, it's always been interesting on like a little bit deeper level than just getting high and stuff like
Oh
that.
wait,
So
yeah.
it's, for me, it's amazing to like
Well,
have all this stuff just like at my fingertips and be able to, you know, communicate with the people that are kind of on the cutting edge of some of this research. I've met a lot of these people at some of the different conferences I've been to, and that has been just kind of mind blowing.
yeah, isn't it awesome? I mean, that and it's not going to be never ending, but you're still along for the ride, and you know, at a really a good level to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just turned 28 couple days ago, so it's like
hmm.
it's really cool. Like I really have a, like, you know, I'm pretty young seeing all this stuff happen. It's progressing at such a rapid pace. Like it's still like, you know, like 10 years ago, it still wasn't legal a lot of places. Like we had medical a lot of places, but
No, but
we were still getting there. It's come a long way in a
it,
short amount of time.
it's an amazing uh, thing. You know, I mean, the endocannabinoid system, nobody knowing anything about it till mid 1990s. Holy crap! When I heard that, okay, come on, this is some hippie brothers nonsense here saying this whole system we're hardwired for cannabis, man. And when I instantly came to check it out, and it was true. Anybody, I guess, here would know that that's something I consider very valuable to have a very rudimentary knowledge on, because so few people do that, especially when you're engaging somebody with perhaps an opposite point of view. That's an area where I can be the smartest person in the room, because there generally isn't a lot of people. I mean, you know, you don't want to be in the same room with Sue because she's going to know more than me on most all this. So it really depends on what room you're in. But it's so much as how can, the more I learn about this plant, the more it's like, come on, there can't be anything left to learn about it. Can't be anything more it can do that we don't know about. And yeah, no, right? I see what you're saying, Sam. It's like, well, of course we don't know it all yet. That in and of itself is also kind of stimulating, you know, that there's new horizons we don't know about yet. So anyway, but now, yeah, you're right. There's the amount of questions that, other than just going for a Google search and asking a question, you know, to get specific, you know, if you're going to be able to offer that to people, you know, in other words, it's sort of like, does this answer your question? An instant reply somewhere, no, not even close. You know, you to be able to communicate, you know, a little more closely with somebody. And then, like you said, if you got some sort of
and like that's the other thing is like, there's so many answers on Google. Like you can Google a question, but if you were like, let's say your question is like, is this thing right?
Mm-hmm.
There will be people that say yes and people that say no. When you ask them, well, what's the right way to do this? There will be 100 different ways.
Oh, that's yeah.
Most of them probably won't even be wrong. It's just that they're all different. And if you're looking for like the right way, it's really tough to know. Even just on that, like even if they're not wrong, like what's the best way? If these are all ways that work, like which one is the best? And that's part of what, like, also what we're going to be trying to offer is it's going to be peer reviewed. So like it won't just be like, you know, it'll be at least 3 people that, like, you know, read that answer and like read that question and, you know, agree with that answer of like what we're, you know.
That's all I have when I go on. It's like, I don't just look at for one thing. I'm going to have time to look at a bunch. And then I got to like throw out the lowest, throw out the highest. What's in the middle? Is there a mean thing that leans this way, the average and the mean, you know? And you try to extrapolate from that your best odds, like I'm placing a bet on it. And that can be from anything from a door repair to to all sorts of stuff. Because there are.
And with cannabis, I feel like the answer so much of the time is also like, it depends. Like, unless you have time to actually have a conversation about it and you can give a little detail to your specific situation, a lot of time, like, you know, with general questions, the answer can be like, it depends.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much nuance to cannabis.
Yeah, which is what's different about everything else. Even it won't really matter so much. But there is all that nuance, and you will never be able to find, other than an educated guess or maybe something to think about. But you know, if there was a source that was a little more able to target what you're talking about, you know. So you know, good luck with this. I'll be watching. You see how this works out, because there's a big place for it. Timing's perfect, you know.
Sammy, I go on Facebook and Instagram and I see all these videos of people adding milk to a sick plant or coffee to a sick plant. Is that a thing? And do you do that for cannabis as well?
I mean, I've never done milk. Cannabis tends to be pretty like finicky, so I have all kinds of different things. But coffee is definitely something that's like, you know, like in an average garden, like I definitely wouldn't be opposed to using coffee. It's high in I want to say what is coffee high in again? I want to say nitrogen, but I can't really remember off the top of my head. But coffee grounds are definitely good for your garden. There's a lot of different, you know, simple things like I use a lot more worm castings.
Eggshells too, right?
Yeah, eggshells are great. I'm big on putting stuff into so like in talking to like a testing lab, we were talking about just like ways to reduce you know, potentially harmful growth in like I said, I love living soil, and in testing in some of her testing of some living soil samples, not anything on the legal market, just you're able to get any products that you need tested in New Jersey. You have that right as a consumer. You have a right to access to testing. Um, so if anyone ever had questions about any products that they had, you could reach out to Trichome Analytical if you're in New Jersey, and they can actually test that stuff for you. So in running some tests for some living soil flour, she had found some different species of bacteria that are, I believe it was, that you don't typically want to have. It's not necessarily harmful to the average person, but for someone maybe immunocompromised, it could be an issue. So in testing some living soil samples, she had discovered some, potentially negative things. And so I was just, talking to her about ways to potentially reduce, that happening in living soil environments. And one of the things that we had kind of pinpointed was, too much decaying matter in the environment. And one, pretty big practice in living soil is chopping and dropping the leaves. So like taking the leaves that are on the plant that you're ready to get rid of, instead of like throwing them out or whatever, getting rid of them. A lot of people will just let them fall onto the top of their soil and stay there, to act as partially as a mulch layer, and to also just, give those nutrients right back to the soil. But in talking to Trichome, we had said that maybe that might not be the best for growing, like, the cleanest living soil flour that you can, because I truly do believe it's still possible to grow, medicinal quality cannabis. I think I think you can grow great cannabis anyway, but I feel very strongly about living soil. If, obviously for everyone's situation, it's for them to kind of make those decisions. And if they are immunocompromised, that may be something they should think about a little more, or at least look a little closer at some of that testing. And maybe reach out to a lab, and, if you need a little bit more education on whether that's safe for you or not. One of the things that we had pointed out was not letting too much stuff decay on top of the soil and things like that. So something that I have leaned more towards these days, that I think if I was to get a garden going, I think I would implement, like, because I'm like, I use like in my different vegetables and stuff like that. Like I use a lot of worm castings anyway, just because it is, it's just different, plant growth, food matter, different things like that the worms have broken down into, like, plant nutrients that you can reuse again. And so you can put things like eggshells into your worm bin, and you can put your leaves that you want to reuse into your worm bin. You can put all that stuff in there, and the worms will just eat everything that you put in there and turn it into poop that basically just resembles very wet dirt. Not quite mud, but wet dirt.
You want to mulch the cannabis leaves first, like put them out for a few months, I guess, outside, and turn it, or that's the you talk about.
I mean, yeah, you can compost it too. That's definitely another great option. Composting, like worm castings are also referred to as a vermicompost. It's just letting,
Okay.
just another. It's another form of composting. You can compost in a bunch of different ways. There's like
you can use we have used mushroom compost because I have a habit of drowning my mushrooms or screwing it up, just because of our weather. And I try to do my mushrooms on the balcony. But I've used that as compost, and it works pretty good.
Oh yeah, they love it, and especially the stuff that has like in mushroom growing, one of the things you usually got to look out for is trichoderma on your like your spawn blocks, and trichoderma is actually really good for soil. So that's kind of a beneficial relationship that some mushroom growers and actually honestly a lot of different types of growers, but especially cannabis growers have embraced it, is like trichoderma infested fruiting blocks, because they'll have some of that, like good mushroom mycelium, but also the trichoderma is actually one of the when I was talking to someone who is he works in commercial cultivation, so he's definitely leans more towards hydroponics. And when we were speaking to him about living soil, and he brought up one very specific issue called fusarium, and I didn't actually, like, at the time I didn't actually know what I would do when he was like, oh well, what are you gonna do if you get fusarium? And I didn't actually know the answer to that. I was like, oh, you might have got me there. And then I Googled it, and like one of the top things to fight fusarium is actually trichoderma, which I can just get pretty cheap from mushroom growers that had a block that got a little bit dirty.
Mm-hmm. You know what? My brother, and I remember the name of it because of the name, vermiculite.
Yeah.
My brother he likes to use a lot of vermiculite. He lives up in Sussex County, so I guess their soil up there is like a little bit more dense or moist.
Yeah, so you need a little more drainage.
Yeah. So he uses a lot of that. He likes that. And he uses some kind of dolomite that contains a lot of calcium and magnesium.
Okay.
Now, my question for you though is, and just because I think of things in a medicinal organic nature with with herbs and what have you. So calcium and magnesium, right? We can get that out of a lot of different plants. So drying up the plants themselves that are super abundant in calcium and mag, like mango, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And mango is like, mango's pretty close to like, smoking a joint. It tastes so good, right? That's been said for a long time. So like, letting that dry out and adding that into the soil is something else, that's kind of like I've heard tossed around.
Yeah, like things like that, like and that's like almost like, I guess, like starting to get into like kind of that KNF realm of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could take that mango and put it into a sealed bucket with those bacteria, and you can let those bacteria break it down, and it'll actually like break it down into like a liquid nutrient.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a liquid mango extract.
Mm-hmm. I have to tell you, years ago, I used to make my own essential oils, and that was all by trial and error too. It was just, okay, let's take a little drop of this and a little and crush up, maybe crush up some lavender and crush up whatever, whatever scent you try to get. Even the peels from like oranges or lemons and what have you, and actually soak them, just like when you make your own cannabis oil. So it's kind of like the same concept, so you kind of drain it out into an oil, and then you have to dilute that oil. It's a little bit of a process. In fact, I was even doing it as a little like side hustle for a while, but it's a lot of work. It's easier to just buy essential oils, but they come out pretty cool. I have to tell you, the scent of them, I just made two batches in the past couple of months, and one was a vanilla almond, and the other one is citrus. The citrus came out outstanding. It really did. I had to like pat myself on the back over that one.
That's
but
awesome.
It's like, it's fun to do that stuff, and then you see what you come up with, your cannabis plants, like just like Jim was talking about, like all the different flavors, and whatnot. Like when Jim and I were, first getting high, we didn't know what we were smoking. The sticky weed was good, and it tasted good. And yeah, and I could remember lighting a joint saying, "Oh, this tastes so
And well, there was this new kind of pot, what I called it, uh, Sensimelia.
Pennsylvania."
It doesn't
No
have any
seeds, no
no
seeds.
seeds. It wasn't. That was like a brand.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And,
the
and
Mexican
but,
cartel actually
yeah,
like invented that.
it really. But some was so sticky and like there's matchbooks around as much or more than lighters for some reason. Then so when you could pick up a matchbook just by pressing your finger on it and hold on, you know
Mhm.
that's going to be pretty good. Plus it made it easy to roll because it got sticky and your hands just were automatic rollers when they were sticky. It was but one I had a question. Maybe you could shed some light on it. It's
Yeah, what's up?
right around all this. Burst onto the scene where I was in about 1977, Hawaiian. And
Hawaiian ash buds.
yeah, but it was it was $10 a gram. The first time I ever bought by the gram, it was sort of like you bought something and got a little bit of that because it would be special.
Yeah.
But it was so much better on so many levels, and it was all, well, yeah, like there's a lot of volcanic ash around there that makes really better in Hawaii. What, do you know why? Why would it have been
I mean,
such a quantum leap back then?
I
And wait a
I
minute, let me just
there's a
interrupt
lot
this
to be
because
said.
what
I
Jim
think there's
just
a lot
brought
to be
up
said
about.
about Hawaiian genetics, honestly.
Can
And
I
I
just
think
say
there's a lot
something
to be
about
said
that?
about outdoor weed.
Just insert something into what Jim is saying, and you're answering. Okay, there was also the Hawaiian hash buds, and then the Thai stick. So they were all like somewhere like intergalactically I don't know, connected.
Palm
So
leaf hash.
So,
Palm leaf hash.
you tend to find a lot more like psychedelic varieties and some of those more equatorial, tropical varieties. And I also think like Hawaii is a very harsh environment.
well, they have a lot of that volcanic ash. So
I mean, like they have good soil and stuff, but as
yeah,
far as like trying to grow cannabis outdoors in Hawaii, like there's a lot of pests, a lot of crazy weather, a lot
okay,
of there's a
yeah.
lot to deal with as far as growing that stuff. It's not easy to grow outdoors there. So to have plants that can grow outdoors there, they tend to be very strong, very diverse in cannabinoids, very diverse in terpenes and other aroma things. Um, Simply because those like we look at terpene like limonene, for example, like you'll see it's good for your stomach and it's good for anxiety and it's a little bit energizing and this and that, and you'll probably also find that it's pesticidal, maybe antiviral or something like that. And if you look at almost any terpene, you'll find that pretty much all of them will at least do one of either antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, or pesticidal. And that's because terpenes are what the plant uses to protect itself. So plants that have to deal with a lot more environmental stressors tend to produce not only more terpenes, but also like a wider range of them as well. So I think that's something always interesting to think about, is that like if they were growing that outdoors, like that could definitely play a part in it.
So how the climate controls it, right? Is what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like in
Yeah,
that,
that makes
like
sense.
if
Yeah.
there were a lot more bugs attacking it, it would
Mhm.
have to produce like not just more terpenes, but also like it'll produce this one first, and then when that one stops working, it'll produce another one. When that one
Right,
stops
right.
working, they produce another one, and now
Mhm.
like by the third one, like, you know, like it might have gotten to the second one in indoors where it's not necessarily getting as stressed by bugs, but outdoors where it does have those stressors, you might start to see like like a different profile, but different because it is more nuanced, rather than you know, completely different. It'll be like, you know, it'll have deeper nuance to those smells, and I find a lot of that stuff really interesting.
Yeah,
That's
it's
one of the things
fascinating, right?
I find most in living soil is that, like, you know, in living soil, the plant is dealing with some of those stressors, at least to an extent. You use a lot of beneficial insects, so like the plant doesn't necessarily need to be attacked by bugs. It can actually sense bugs in its environment and then produce terpenes to protect itself. But the bugs that you would put into a living soil environment typically wouldn't be ones that were attacking it. They're just kind of around, but the plant can tell anyway.
Like the ladybug weed, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can use ladybugs. There's a lot of other different species that are a little bit better than ladybugs, just because ladybugs will fly off. They don't tend to last as long, and
Yeah.
the larvae
they're
are
cute.
actually much better predators than full-grown ladybugs.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of different species that you can use that will just kind of like live in your soil and stay there.
Yeah.
And you know, the Hawaiian $10 gram pot, it was always so bright green and perfectly manicured, you know, buds.
Oh, it was awesome.
But it was a bright green. I don't know, not bright, but it was nothing to do with brown. And I I had some taken away from me by Point Pleasant police, and it was a small amount. Yeah, it was a small amount. It was about $15 worth, small amount. It was a bud, and the guy ridiculed me. I mean, I didn't get busted because it is 77. It was about to be legal then. I mean, seriously, it wasn't a big deal for a small amount, like ever where I was. And it was like, you're going to be like me, you know, you could have got busted for this. If you're going to get busted for something, you get busted for this crap green shit, you know? And I'm
Because
like,
it was
oh,
raw,
yeah,
right?
yeah, but he also took my pipe. It's 12D was the item number from Cosmic Shop on Route 37 in Tom's River. Why do I remember stuff like that? But anyway, he got my pipe in that. And my friend and me, when we were like, you know, all right, go about your business. We didn't have anything else. It was almost like back then you'd think, are they going to go just, hey, listen, let's take a couple of puffs. It's bullshit, you know, some bullshit pot here, this green stuff. So, I mean, maybe that's only even a 1 in 20 chance, but, you know, it could have happened. And in my mind, I'm just picturing about the third toke, one of them going, wow, this is really good, you know, and maybe having an episode and fuck them, you know. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that, can I? Not too late. Yeah, times have changed in so many directions, but honestly, it was used to occur to me. Seriously, I got good foresight. I have such a love for the plant, and things were always moving still then, getting better and better, even at a much slower rate. But I always wonder what it would be like when it was unfettered. Twice in one day with unfettered now, you know. And that, what would it be like? And it was like I didn't have a bucket list, but it wasn't like I hope I live to have grandchildren and all. It was like I hope I live to see this shit, you know. I mean, that was kind of like always just fascinating, you know, the stories.
Mhm.
I mean, my God, there was a thing in High Times one time where a guy, I don't know where he was, let's just say Virginia or something like that. And you know, he'd be blindfold, get into his house and down into his wine cellar, which wasn't a wine cellar. It was all sorts of mason jars with every kind of marijuana. It wasn't called cannabis then. And all the, and you know, I was like, it was like there is a Nirvana. What, you know, what would it be like to be that guy, to never wonder if your guy was home, to have all these, and that was back when there was like terpene galore, you know, I mean, you could smell stuff. Yeah, freshly smell. I mean, geez, it just didn't go away. And but that would get you in trouble then. I remember the first time I legally purchased at it became Curaleaf in Belmar, and I didn't know what I wanted to buy. I just wanted to buy something legal, you know. and that's what, maybe 8 years ago or something. And I didn't know what to ask for, so I was surprised when I parked and got out. I could smell it in the air. I mean, I know they got all sorts of filtration going on, and I'm like,
No, I know what you mean. You can smell when you get off the highway.
yeah, and I thought that's awesome. So when I went in, it was sort of like, what would you like? And I said, I just want whatever the smelliest, stinkiest stuff you got, you know? I want something that smells the most. I don't care what kind it was. And actually, you know, it had a little stink to it. Not like, you know, the old days, but I was just looking for legal. You know? And I went home and had some, and I did a little selfie video of my first 2 or 3 legal tokes in my life, you know, as a milestone. And I remember, because I got pretty high, and it wasn't a long thing, but I remember I was actually just kind of talking to myself, saying, "So I wonder if this is going to like take the fun out of it." And I thought, and it was a very genuine, no, it's not taking any of the fun out. It was always the thing. I mean, you grow up all these decades of clandestine, you're like an outlaw, you know, and you're not a criminal, but you're an outlaw, and that's always pretty cool. But you know, I had to actually describe to me in a letter to the editor, sticking up for me like 30 years ago. You, Mr. Miller, you are an outlaw, not a criminal, you know, and explain it. Ed Decker was his name. The guy was a gadfly. He'd been in like 3 or 4 like Korean War. He's a veteran for a long time, you know, and apparently he liked my exploits in the day. I never got to meet him, but one time, I don't know, coming up because I'm getting kind of high now. We're freewheeling a little, you know. He said that he paid me the highest compliment I think anybody ever could. Now, I didn't deserve it either. But he said that if you had to be in a foxhole again, it'd be somebody like me. I thought, holy crap, you know, I mean, that's really heavy duty, you know. And but anyway, there was a need for that then. I mean, it was a war on drugs, and it was kind of war like without physical injuries, you know, incarceration rather than the hospital, you know. But that's done. There's no going back, you know. I mean, because it's always a worry one administration, if you will. Oh, I never say if you will either, because I always go, oh, maybe I won't when somebody says that to me. Another story. You know, it's I don't know.
But we had a lot of fun. Yeah, right? Didn't we have fun? We had fun.
Well, it was clandestine too. It was like you didn't have a secret handshake. Pretty generally, a friend of mine used to just simply say, "Hey, you cool?"
Yeah.
And I remember
I used to say, "You get high."
Yeah, but
you get high.
Yeah. Well, you're cool didn't always work because we were getting something at it was like a Dairy Queen outdoor thing with lunch hour, carpenter and all, and he wanted to tip the girl a joint, you know, and he went, "You cool?" She said, "Yeah, I'm cool." And he went here and go, "Is that a joint?" And she's all freaked out and shit. And he didn't say, "Hey, I thought you said you were cool, but you know, I thought it was funnier than shit," you know.
That's funny.
You know? But you know, at any rate, it was kind of fun negotiating all the curves, and in the end, when I can say that proudly that I've never been arrested unless I wanted to be. You know, the only times I've ever been arrested 3 times, I wanted to be. You know,
that's more than I can say, but I definitely got lucky in that. Do you remember a couple years ago when was more than a couple years ago now, but back when Jersey City, just like one day they were just like, we're not prosecuting weed charges anymore, and then like it kind of threw the whole state into this like mess of like half of the counties were like arguing with Jersey City, trying to convince them that they had to prosecute weed, and they just kind of stood their ground. And so then the attorney general like called a pause on all cannabis prosecutions until they could decide like if they were gonna decriminalize it or not. It was a whole crazy thing. I got arrested shortly before that happened.
Really?
For possession of 4 grams.
No way. Where at? Yeah. If I may ask, where at? Where?
On Route 1 in I guess I was in Princeton, but I'm not 100% sure like where the line is over there.
So what did they do?
Yeah.
They so I got arrested shortly before that, but my case ended up falling like during that weird time with the laws and stuff. So they actually just like turned it into a littering charge. They like
Oh, okay.
I didn't litter, but they
You know
had
why they do that?
like, what?
They whatever they find you for is what they could keep.
Yeah. So
They
they
didn't
just
have to
fined
pay
me
the
for
state. Yeah,
littering and
Yeah.
dropped the weed charge, which was
yeah, and they kept the money.
fine. Like I which is funny because like yes, I'm like, weed has been illegal for, a while. Like the various aspects of it in New Jersey are still illegal, such as home grow. So like, it's not always legal, whatever I'm necessarily involved in, whether it's, copping off someone that isn't legal or whatever. So like, oh, I totally forgot where I was going with that.
Awesome. I love company like that.
Yeah, we like that. You see, you're going to join the club now.
No, I'm just saying that happens to me a lot. I try to blame it on I'm 72 or it's smoking, but
my brain just only half works, so we'll get.
I like to say whenever I'm having a conversation, between all of us right now, we got fully 9/10 of a fully functioning brain. There's always something. Yeah, there's always something.
Sam, why don't we have home grow, Sam?
For so many reasons, but honestly, like Scutari's been standing in the way for a long time, but it's also just like, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a big part him not even allowing anyone to talk about it or discuss it in the legislature. But also like in talking to some of like the other senators that I've spoken to, like there are ways around him if we can get more people to be like openly and publicly on board with this, and
more senators.
If we can get like more senators, they're genuinely like, because that's one thing that I've been asking all year is like, like how like everyone just keeps telling us that like he says no, so there's nothing they can do about it, and that has never like worked. That never worked for me. I never understood how that could be a thing. Like, just like, I know nothing really works the way that we were like taught growing up, but just like the idea of checks and balances, I was like, that's got to be a thing. Even if they don't work, it's got to at least be a thing. There's got to be some way.
Well,
like, you can't just have one guy like no. And so like all year I had been asking, and everyone had kind of been, not really giving me straight answers about it, and I finally got a straight answer, and there like are actually a couple of ways, and like one way takes a couple of years, so it kind of sucks, but there's another way that like they can get a vote that day, but it's gonna take a good amount of senators to like actually get on board and actually sponsor it. This bill has more sponsors than most bills have in general. So like we're in a really good place, and a lot of people have signed on over this year, but we're not where we need to be to go over Secretary's head.
Therein lies our entry point, though. Those who have signed on as co-sponsors, if you're a co-sponsor and a constituent especially asks you to ask the Senate President to allow Commissioner the Health Committee Chairman Joe Vitelli, just allow him to post S1393 for a hearing. That's it. So then we need to put the people who signed on, and I got in touch with the 5 Republicans from last session, and pretty much saying the same thing, that being a co-sponsor, if it involves nothing else, it should be involved asking for the bill to have an informational hearing. Simply do that in a publicly formal way. In other words, don't just say, "Yeah, I talked with them." Lefties heard that. Yeah, we've been talking about it. No, none of that. passive tense or whatever. It's been talked about. But I was trying to say to the Republicans, there's 15 in the Senate and 5 were co-sponsors. And that my theory is that they're trying to greenwash their image of being against cannabis all these years, because they are the party of no in New Jersey and nationally for all things cannabis. In New Jersey, oh, come on, 30 years worth. I know exactly how much they are and aren't the party of no. Now, 1/3 of them co-sponsors it, but only 3 out of 25 Democrats, 8%, co-sponsor it. Well, Democrats, they co-sponsor it. That's almost a screw you to Scutari. Yeah, you don't want it heard. I'm going to co-sponsor it. Makes you look worse for not, it's a whole dynamic that kind of keeps them at bay. But
I think that's like the scariest thing is like when you call people and you say Scutari doesn't care about patients or, anything like that, they'll turn around and tell you, Scutari is the reason you have Homegrown. You should be thankful for him. And I'm like,
oh, I would love somebody to tell me that.
I've been told that on multiple occasions. Luckily, it was over the phone, so I could only freak out so much.
Yeah. Well, it's the really only thing legislatively I see that we can do to push it is to have other senators get their constituents, making at least some sort of issue. And of course, I favor the email, and then there's a trail, and then putting that on a public website, like when we put a few on letpatientsgrowNJ.com. The whole reason that Vin Gopal got involved is Jeff King, a constituent, was going with him on his Facebook page, just talking, not trolling, and Vin Gopal said to him, listen, instead of trolling me here on my website, why don't you hit me up legit at the office for an appointment? Yeah, because just screenshotting this to me, because it was really fun watching happen, So then what happens is he gets right back and says, Jim Miller told me that something like this would happen. That's why I have the 2 unanswered emails that I sent you on letpatientsgrowNJ.com right now. So you can go see them there. Oh, what a blindside ass whooping thing to do on a guy's Facebook thing. I have. You've ignored me. He got back to him really, really quick, and he wanted to know more and all that. And then it sort of spun, and now he's the one really doing the work for Homegrown for adults. He's kind of the lead. Singleton's more of the lead for the medical. But, the thing is, it was on a public website, And the thing about that is when it gets down to actually engaging somebody in person, you can get right onto your handheld device and say, here's your letter that never got answered to a constituent. Oh, you've got a letter from somebody's constituent. Doesn't matter if you're the constituent, but I find that kind of nice if you're going to be around somebody and that, it's kind of like a foot in the door. But it's got kind of a one-of-a-kind, unique dynamic here in New Jersey with Scutari. But the idea that the man who was their greatest hero, the one who was so disappointed, like the picture I took of him after he had to explain when it was optioned out, he was surprised. He got hardly any more warning than us, and all of a sudden out in the hallway, But he did say, of course, we could revisit it after the program's up and running. Same thing he's saying for adults now. Holy crap. But nobody saw him circle the wagons and come in from the back. I mean, you need a bill written. So he wasn't going to write it, but you need a bill written. And finally, Singleton did that a little less than 4 years ago. And it was, holy crap, we got a bill. I thought we were there, because the Senate, he wasn't Senate president, but he was big about this, and I couldn't understand, never saw it coming. So I don't know. I think it's adding up. There's going to be a pretty good effort made still this year. I don't know. I'm in the process of giving some information to Herb Conway's um, opposite, the Republican, also vying for a congressional seat left vacant by Andy Kim going Senate. All works well. But the idea that the other guy's also a doctor, so he doesn't have the Dr. Conway advantage. And, you know, he has virtually no chance of winning. It's pretty blue, but it's a chance to saddle Conway with some baggage when he comes limping back saying, I'm still in the assembly. The whole federal off year from state elections works in his favor, that he can just test the waters like that. But I'm waiting. I mean, it's coming, because I'm going to be sure to show up somewhere at least once where I find out where he's going to be, you know, kind of on a list of supporters, but I'm not like making phone calls or anything. I get all the updates. Anyway, yeah, I got to say though, this is really good to hear. The ability to get information, the likes of what you're describing on all these awesome nuances, and there is going to be an expanding call for it, you know, because
Yeah.
you know, we're not alone in our, I don't know, I guess, reverence for this incredibly specific plant. I mean, I'm not one of your typical
I
God-fearing
think we really have a very new market here in New Jersey. Like, there's a lot of things that on the traditional market, we would consider like pretty common, pretty basic products that you just simply can't find in a legal dispensary. Like, obviously there's all kinds of crazy craft things, but I think there's just simple baseline products that are missing from the dispensary in a lot of cases, especially in New Jersey. And so like I think we're in just like a really new market. And so like I think as people start to learn, like, you know, a little bit more, they'll realize they have a lot more questions. And I think, you know, and I think as they learn more on like a deeper level, they'll start to demand more and demand better, demand variety. And I think that like educational aspect will be a big part of, you know, maturing the market here. And you know, that's what they always say, is that we can have home grow once the market's mature. And so if I got to teach a whole bunch of people about a whole bunch of stuff about how bad this market really is in reality, then I'm going to do that. And, you know, people can, you know, gain some new knowledge, and hopefully we can make some changes for the better in this state. Because
having that information available and being added to it is essential. To me, it's not like how big of a market can you reach. It's that you are available for that market, because, you know, people are going to go looking. They're going to want to, they want to know where's the end, close to the end of this road, you know?
Yeah.
And I appreciate that somebody will take this kind of interest and realizing, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that could benefit from it, and trying to tailor it to what you find to be their needs. And like you were saying, you know, I mean, you know, people don't want to look stupid asking questions, you know?
Right. Yeah. And like, you know, and if we find that we're getting like, you know, like certain questions a lot, or, you know, from certain areas or different demographics, like we can, you know, we can throw events where like, you know, a whole bunch of people can get together and we can kind of teach them all, and no one can ask to admit that they have questions. They can just admit that they wanted to go to a cannabis learning event.
Well, have a focus group night, and
Yeah.
people will come to a focus group night and then do some testing and talking about it, and being in that kind of mood to have a real good get together and learn some shit. I could see that. That would be like freaking awesome. Really would. I mean, it's not like just what do you got? Well, I got this. What do you got? It's like, what do you got? And
Yeah, I think there's so much to learn,
yeah.
and there's
Well, yeah.
so much to
It's,
learn just from simply sitting and like talking to other people.
but to describe it, okay, we grew this, and and you sort of, it's like a wine tasting thing, and a little bit of something about it. I mean, for a lot of people now that it's that kind of legal, and they can say, yeah, that's what I'm doing tonight. I think you definitely you're in the right place at the right time. So I can live vicariously off you a little bit too. Because like, I would enjoy, however far you can get, as if I had, the first time I heard about somebody living vicariously was often me, and I thought, oh, really? You mean you have that much fun hearing what I'm talking about each night? Awesome. But now it's me, and I get to do that all the time in many different directions. I mean, Sue will tell you, I'd live vicariously for any interview generally, because it's always somebody, and yet once again somebody that very interesting for the subject of growing. And if you're going to advocate for home grow, well, there's no better crossing of interest than that right there. So like you're well placed on this particular podcast as well. I mean, right up there. Sue, you got a streak. Holy crap. She's our, what do you call it? Person who gets you quality people on a podcast, or there's a word. See, I'm taking, this is an example here. Little toe. I'm getting really high off this. It tastes like shit. It's got nothing. It's like, ugh.
Sam, there's a guy that we're going to have here at Mad Hatter that he takes your DNA. If you're part of 23andMe, that company, he'll take your DNA, run it through his software, and find out what your cannabis absorption rate is.
Why?
I find that really interesting.
I do too. Don't mind me laughing.
It's
just
I
sort
asked
of.
you why when you told me that, and I'm still asking why. Why?
I'm curious what exactly that like implies, because
And how will that help me? How will that help me find my nirvana?
Yeah.
I guess that, and like I feel it tends to hit fairly quickly. Like I guess like something like that feels like it would affect edibles more than it would affect like smoking or something like that.
Yeah, or tinctures, right? Yeah, it would have to be edibles.
Or is it more related? Like I don't know. That's interesting. I guess I would like to know more about like what that actually means, because I imagine it means more than what comes to mind. And
I'd like to know if it's you could tell your terpene profile from that, because I know that's a big thing with patients. You want to know your terp profile, what's good for you, what's not good for you.
So Lefty, I've done the 23 and the 23andMe or whatever it's called. I've done that. So you can use my name and ask him to run mine.
Let's do it.
Trial. Okay. I guess, was that a yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, give my name. You know, you have my name, my address. You got all my stuff.
It's very interesting to me. I never heard of that before. So much new technology coming out that we should have been studying 30 years ago, but we're finally catching up to the world. Actually, we're pretty much. I think we're pretty much leading the world next to Israel, right? With cannabis testing and.
Oh, Israel has a lot of cool stuff going on, though.
Australia does too.
I met a dude at MJ Unpacked. His name was Jeremy. His company was Davis Farms in Oregon, and they work in diverse cannabinoid breeding and preservation. They work with a lab in Israel. So my favorite lab in New Jersey tests for a little over 50 unique compounds, I believe, which is great. It's the most in New Jersey, and they do a great job. Love them. But the lab that Jeremy works with in Israel tests for over 150 different compounds.
Whoa.
Yeah. In a single strain of flour that he has had tested, they found as many as 40 unique cannabinoids. That's more than the number of terpenes that we test for. It's more than twice as many cannabinoids that we even test for in this state, and he's discovered up to 40 in one plant. So like stuff like that is like, you know, also the things that like really stick out to me as you know, kind of some of that cutting edge, really like, you know, science that I'm really, really interested in, because like we're big on THC and CBD, but what about those other 38 compounds that could be in there? And you know, like even the 17 that we test for, like you still could be missing out on 20 things. And we love to equate, you know, big number to big effect, but that's not always the case. And so I think you know, as we start to look more into some of those more minor occurring things, that we'll find that a lot of the nuance lies in there. You know, we're already starting to find that with the smells of that. Like, you know, we really thought that, you know, super fruity smell was coming from the limonene, but a lot of things have limonene, and, you know, a lot of really gassy, weird smelling things have limonene in them, and they don't smell at all like lemons. And why was that? So we started to look a little bit deeper into it, and we found that there's other chemicals that make the really fruity, and there's a whole other class of chemicals that make the really stinky. And those compounds occur in like, so if terpenes occur at like, you know, 1, 2 to like 4 or 5% in you know, cannabis flower, and that's like, you know, that's the highest amount of concentration of the aromatic compounds. But those really stinky and really fruity things, like those occur as about 4 to 10% of the total aromatic compounds. So if like terpenes are making up most of that, and that only is about 4%, these other things that really are what you're smelling are occurring in such minuscule amounts, even compared to the, you know, the 2% CBD and the, you know, 0.7% of limonene. There might be a 0.007% of that really tropical fruity thing that you're actually smelling in there.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested to hear more about like all the minor things that we're kind of just now starting to learn about and focus on. I think all that stuff will open up a lot of doors in cannabis.
Yeah.
You got to have some sort of counterpart in Israel that has all that more capacity to learn there. I mean, I would be a little envious. Like, you got 150, and we're dealing with like 40 here and all that. What? Any idea why Israel? I mean, it's like, you know, I mean, without just simply saying, well, Dr. Meshulam, you know, was the driving force almost forever.
I mean, like, it's hard to not just point to, you know, some of those things where like they really were kind of on the cutting edge of some of those discoveries, and have kind of stayed on the cutting edge of that science. And, you know, part of that is due to the legality here. Like, you know, it's really only been a few years that a lot of this research has been allowed in New Jersey.
Well, yeah, we didn't allow the research.
Not even New Jersey, in America. It's only really been a few years since this research has been allowed in America. And, you know, like that, if we go to Schedule 3, it will make research easier and we'll get a lot farther, a lot faster. But, you know, we've gotten really far in the last couple of years, and a lot of that was that they finally, like, despite being Schedule 1, allowed some research to finally happen on it.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
going to
something we
happen.
didn't get for many, many years before that. So um, it's nice to see things
You
opening
know,
up, even if
nothing.
we're in a weird place in our state.
The tipping point is funny. I mean, it's maybe a decade or more or less literally process where something gave way after all these years and some things, and maybe the endocannabinoid system. Oh no, there's a little legality, and then finally, a while back, you could feel it. It might be too late to stop. Like it might be too late to stop, even if you wanted to. And I'm thinking now we are so far past the tipping point, but I want to hear the crash, the final, it's done, the
Yeah,
ta-da,
I think that's what we're
the end of,
all waiting for. Because like
yeah,
we all see it. Like we can all see we're so far past where
yeah,
anything could possibly be done for it besides legalize it. But it's just
yeah. Well, the
it's just
exodus
like
from,
this waiting game.
how many people were on one side of the coin that are now on the other and off and doing something else, And
I got told by a federal
yeah.
someone in this federal Senate office. I don't remember which senator we were meeting with, but we met with one of their staffers, and the staffer just looked at us and plain as day, like not even joking, like he was quite serious, which was I was very anxious that day, and when he said it, I laughed a little bit because it was like funny to hear. But he was just like, "Yeah, the drugs won, the war on drugs. Oh yeah, the drugs won." And he was just so plain and so completely serious about it, and I just like it's crazy to hear some of those things coming from people that work in the federal government, the same one that it's still illegal in. It wild.
Oh, good. I got a note. Sometimes I make notes. I forget things. I really do. Yeah, it's Scott Rutter, who has some good information sometimes, and Bill Caruso, who also does, agree on one thing and say, "I know you're not going to like to hear this." And I'd like somebody to tell me things I don't want to hear. At least I know they're not. He says, but there really isn't a general interest in the Senate or the Assembly to deal with anything to do with cannabis, medical or otherwise. There just isn't. So, and I translate that to they're not feeling whatever pushing we're doing. That's valuable information, perhaps. But I'd like to. I don't know. I'd like to think that we could have something to do about that then. I mean, if we kind of like, okay, well then how do we, it goes back to individual legislators, and I'm thinking maybe like co-sponsors. I'm going to double up on that. I have work with constituents, and I think 4 of the 6 or 7 co-sponsors have people at the ready to say, to re-engage the conversation they last had, like, thank you for your co-sponsorship, and then really not getting any service. But yeah, it has to be more like that, with a little bit of, or else we're going to need a better explanation. But it's hard when you don't have any teeth.
More clones at the State House. More clones.
That was good. Yeah, man, that was
That was a lot of fun.
that
I have
was
to
good.
say, I had
that
a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, that was awesome. Good job with that.
Those were mother plants, right, Sam?
We had some clones, we had some teens, and we had some like bigger plants that.
Oh yeah,
flower.
That was the surprise. I think pretty much anybody that knew that was happening was surprised to see anything bigger than like this. But when it was like 1.5 feet.
Oh yeah, like walking down the street.
With that, and never in all my interactions with state police, and that goes back to 1993. Did I see that was the most enjoyable, because it was like an over-under thing. Okay, what's going to happen, because I know I've seen their bank of cameras. There's multiple areas they can zoom exactly in on everything that's being done, so they're going to see it. And it's sort of like, okay, and then reach the 5-minute mark, and I'm kind of like watching what's going on and watching around for signs, and it wasn't happening. And it was like about the 12 or 15-minute mark. I'm like, it's like wandering this to see the edge of the envelope. Where is the edge here? Okay, no, it's 15 minutes. And then they didn't come walking down by the fountain and out all at once like a posse. They all of a sudden were out, and well, if you're facing
They
the
waited
fountain,
until we finished before they even pulled up. Honestly, there's like one there, like watching to make sure
yeah,
we,
but then
cause a ruckus.
the
And
others
then as soon as we were done, the rest of them pulled up.
Yeah, well, when the rest of them pulling up, I went over to get something out of the car, so now I'm behind them, and I have my video thing going, saying this is like classic, you know. But they were like kind of meekishly wandering over. They had no authority in their step whatsoever. They were, and then
It didn't feel that many of them wanted to
No. Well,
yes, we weren't supposed to, but it didn't really feel like many of them like particularly felt strongly about doing something about it, you know.
well, you guys had the
There's
upper
maybe
hand.
one guy that like was very like
Every group has one, yeah.
but most of them
But-
seemed, pretty like, on board with what was going on, or at least not against it.
Chris
Um,
Goldstein did a great job when they said, "What about this? Look at the lawn." You know, and he goes, "Listen, I've been here when there's been like 1,000 people here on a bad weather day, and when everybody left, the lawn was a mess. You know, and it seemed to almost confuse them and stop them for a second. You know, and then going, we'll take care of it." But this was still when it looked like it was going to be, they would be taking the illegal plants, leaving everybody to fix up what they disturbed. That was the surprise. It was like, don't forget to take them away. Man, that edge of the envelope was nowhere where I thought it would be. That is a day where if I was a betting man, I would have lost money on what I would have expected the outcome to be. And I love when I'm wrong in that direction, when there's like less penalty than I might have thought. But it also really normalized things in a way that seemed to make everything almost easier since then. It was like a quantum leap with no sanctions at all. And then
and it was nice to be able to like we had good conversation, it draws a little bit of attention. We got to have conversations with people that we definitely would not have normally, and who didn't really know what we were doing or why it was important, and actually did stop to talk to us about it. And we definitely get that when we sit out front on our various days that we do that, but it was a little bit different that day. There was something a little bit.
That was a stellar day. It's funny because people either be on the podcast or where was that? That was right here, right behind us. You can almost still see. It was like being able to point to exactly where that was. But I still don't know what that says, except for they would have had to follow a whole lot of paperwork process of some sort to commandeer them. They don't just take it and we put it in the garbage. Now they'd have to follow whatever their path is, and they didn't want to do that.
And and it's a live plant. What, you're gonna put it in an evidence locker and it'll rot in the next week?
So they didn't want anything to do. So basically, it was like having mercy upon the law and saying, "We'll take them all with us, and we'll straighten this up as best we can." And I thought that was just an amazing day. It certainly made the podcast seem almost tame after that. Like now we're just like openly smoking and coughing and shit right next to the sidewalk. It wasn't. So it all adds up. I mean, it's just how long. Also, there's things going on we don't know about. because when something doesn't make sense, like Scutari and why this long and why no will and all that, that means because we're missing a couple pieces of the puzzle. There's no doubt about that. So, as long as there's moves to be made, it's going to be interesting. And did I hear correct a coalition thing we did that they're going to be back in session for a little bit in September? I thought I heard. I wanted to double check that. You know anything about that, Lefty?
No.
Yeah, I want to double check on exactly what the schedule is.
I do have a quick question for Sam before we go. Two questions. Sam, the first time you ever got stoned, how old were you, and was there a story behind it?
Everybody has these questions, Sam. Everybody gets them.
So my first time was I had a couple friends. One was like a local friend, and another was like a friend that I knew through him that did not live in the area, but we were gonna go meet up at Point Pleasant, and she asked us if we wanted to smoke weed, and so she brought a bowl and some flour, and we went and sat on the beach and smoked. And I remember like walking around, and we had to go meet back up because his parents drove us to Point Pleasant. And then like they stayed there, not with us. Like we kind of went separate and did our own thing. But at a certain point we had to like meet up with them to go get dinner or whatever. And I just remember being like, oh man, I hope they don't notice. And like having to walk past all the cops and being like, oh no, I hope the cops don't notice. But it was a lot of fun, and the food tasted good.
Yeah, that's fun. I could just see that, like, okay, am I talking too much? Am I not talking enough? You know what I mean? Should I be looking right in their eyes? I don't remember. I never thought about it.
Never had to pay attention to these things.
Right. The carnival just starts going on.
Sam, how old were you?
Yes.
That was
15. I always take a guess. 15.
14.
I guess 16.
I was close without going
yeah.
over. What do I win?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
how long?
The year I moved back from Florida.
How long after that did your second smoke come? Did you get your toes wet first? Did you jump in head first?
I definitely didn't like become super regular right off the bat, but
good.
Like once I realized that it like was helping with some of like the side effects of my ADHD meds and stuff, I was like, yeah, this stuff actually is kind of great.
Yeah. That leads to my next question. First of all, what did you eat that night when you had the munchies that night? Do you remember?
I think I had a corn dog and like like the good boardwalk fries. They got a very specific style of fries over there.
Yes.
Did they taste better than usual? Do you remember
it did taste
any
a
of
little
that?
bit better than usual. Yeah.
You ought to make that part of your questions, Lefty.
What's your favorite munchie food, Sam?
That's the next one.
That's a tough one. I have stomach issues these days, so I definitely don't eat enough. But I love grilled cheese. I love grilled cheese and quesadilla. I love cheese in general. So lots of different because these things tend to mess with my stomach, so that's why I'm but I love like mac and cheese and quesadillas and stuff like that. Big cheese.
Yummy. So yummy. Last question. If you have a friend that's down on his luck, he's depressed or upset, do you have something that you would tell them, like a life lesson or a quote that you memorized? Or what would you tell a friend that's down on his luck that needs to be cheered up?
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think of any like good quotes that I have. I don't know. I'm always big on I'm big on like the things that like advice is tough because like I deal with depression and I deal with all that stuff. So like sometimes the advice is like yeah, I've heard that before. I'm still depressed though, but like I'm big on like like the little things that like don't seem like they could make a difference, but actually do. Like go sit out inside in the sun. It feels so simple and so like just like trivial. It feels so trivial. You're like really like is sitting outside in the sun and drinking a glass of water really going to make me feel that much better? But it really does, and it has been scientifically proven that it will. And like just try it. You probably haven't yet. Go sit out in the sun, drink a cup of water, stay out there for 20 minutes, and I bet you'll feel at least a little bit better.
Yeah, maybe some earthing. Take your shoes off, get in the
Right.
grass.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I
Get your
love
feet in
that.
grass, right?
Like sometimes like there's all this grand advice and all this different things, but like
We've had
I-
that answer. We've had this
sometimes
glass of water
I
before.
like we're really complicated, but also like we're really simple, just like a plant. You need some sun and some water sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? Did one of those buildings just grow or something?
Wait, what?
I don't know. Lefty's he just saw somebody won a game, or did you have a bet and you just found out you won? Yeah. You can't just do that in the middle of a conversation. Hell,
And then start to move the town around.
yeah. Now you look like a big ogre. You're just like, and you're scaring the townspeople here. How dare you? Now, the glass of water thing, I think Farmer Tom said something. Somebody said something about, well, drink some water. Make sure just for feeling better, for anxiety wise even, and breathe deeply and all that, Oh, I like to always say along those lines, equally important is something people should never say in a time like that. The one thing nobody should ever say, oh, I know how you feel. No, you don't know how they feel. You never do. And the first time somebody hears, I know how you feel. Yeah, my brother died last week, and just don't say that. That's all. Say anything but
the comparison.
anything but that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough question, Lefty. Man, you get them all set up and then you get philosophical and with a punch. Oh, munchy food. Hey, where were you when you got high? Who were you with? How would you save your friend's life if they needed words of advice?
We've had some great answers, and that was a very original answer, different answer, and I love that answer because we haven't heard that one. That's something. That's a new one.
Yeah, because I've been told all the little sayings before, and unfortunately, I still have depression and ADHD and anxiety. So
you've never asked me that question, and my answer would be it's always different. Anytime that I've been, it's not like that's never happened to me, and I'm 72. I've given some advice to people the best I could, but it's actually based for me more on landmines to avoid, and basically just every situation's different,
Yeah.
But also, I would say you want to look somebody right in the eyes when they're talking to you about that, whatever, just simply drop everything else. Make sure they know that you're looking right at them, and
yeah, that it's a priority.
Yeah. Other than that, it's a tough question, though. I've learned a couple of things, though. After them, just I don't know. I don't think anything's ever worked on me, though. I went to think the one time somebody helped ground me for a second. No, I don't think anybody's ever understood. I don't know. I could be an enigma of some kind, I have self-therapy. I've tried to get good at it because I would refuse to try to talk to somebody and have them figure out shit that I couldn't figure out myself. And I don't have time for that. I don't believe it would work. There. I'm officially that old curmudgeon. That's another word I've never said. That's why
you just gotta have good friends. I've had good friends just say things and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I've paid people a lot of money to try and tell me things like that.
And follow up too. It's sort of like if you didn't have anything like firsthand, check in on that person, you know?
Yeah.
The next day, make sure you have contact with them. Sometimes that's all it takes, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I've not followed my own advice at times on that. And that's probably, out of all the baggage I might have, that's probably half of it right there. Things where I should have stayed in better touch, you know?
I know how it goes. It gets tough sometimes. It's tough to keep up in this digital world. There's just so many more people to keep up with and so many more ways to keep up with people that it all kind of, you know, people get lost in the mix if you're not specifically looking for them. And, you know, between Instagram, Twitter, you know, Facebook, your actual phone contacts, like, you know, it's tough to keep up with all of it.
Well, there is some people I'm going to be keeping up with that I need to keep up with. Dr. George D. Fernando, he's a professor at Princeton University now. He was the commissioner of health in New Jersey when he said about Cheryl and her quest for marijuana for MS that it's the position of the Department of Health. It's the position of the Department of Health that there are alternatives to marijuana for those that would use that as medicine for everything that's said to work for and work better. It was this grand statement. And then he explained to me when he knew he wasn't being recorded that when the commissioner says it's the position of the Department of Health, it becomes the position of the Department of Health. I was like, holy crap, I didn't know that's how we had that in our government. It turns out, who knew? But anyway, you know, what I did as best I could then was to make it a case of, yeah, Cheryl's tried all these medication and these 19 separate therapies. I mean, acupuncture, electric stimulation, all sorts of shit, you know, and used all these medications. So what for tonic spasticity of multiple sclerosis works better? And how do you say it's the position? And nah, we're not going to tell you. All right. All these years later, yeah, a lot of dominoes have fallen. Yeah, we're almost hearing that thump of we're right, you're wrong, next case. But I need to contact him. I need to engage him, and he's reachable, being somewhat of a public figure at Princeton, a place that, with the way it is there, obviously been there. You know, the right adjacent along 206, right? Yeah. That goes right through. I mean, the people sitting on the outside having a cup of something to drink along the town. Other side, campus, whole campus right there.
Yeah.
So anything to do with medical cannabis, I have a way of easily meeting people to find, okay, how do I do this? You know, if I went and just hung around there and be the old way I used to be, you know, I would have help instantly. And here's how to approach him, you know. And basically, I want him to go on record about this, and I can have some fun with him. You know, I don't care. I'll have a sign outside his office with a few students and whatever, and get a picture and go on. But while everybody else is moving forward, I'm going to let everybody else move forward. I'll pick the fruits of everybody else's labor, and I'm going to turn around and find an ass or two to kick that, you know, that don't deserve to just fade into the freaking sunset, you know. There's a few around.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
That there is.
Yeah, I'm not a good turn the other cheek kind of guy, you know. We were right and they were wrong, you know. I'll take an apology, a heartfelt one. I'd be good with that. You know? I would. Well,
I don't need much more than that.
That and a video of it. I say, why not? You know,
Turn the other cheek to people, not the government. The government's a different story.
I want reparations.
So I want to thank CMMNJ, CannaSense, UFCW, JacksonStorms.com, Smoking Monkey, Arlo Glass. OprahMachine.com. Mad Hatter Dispo. I'm in the Mad Hatter Dispo right now.
Yay!
We'll be opening up soon. And sativacross.org. You can donate to our organization at sativacross.org. We do our list here, Sam. This is our list of people that didn't make it. There are friends and family that died waiting for cannabis or were cannabis patients that were using it. Still waiting for home grow.
And a couple who were not patients but fighting for patients, like Roger Barber.
Roger Barber liked to dab. I dabbed him out for the first time. That was great. I told him, he's like, Lefty, I want to dab for the first time. I'm like, really? So I went over to his house and we sat down and we had dinner and we're in the living room chilling out for like, I don't know, a half hour. He's like, hey, Lefty, come on, let's go do the dab. I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. And he did that thing. He took it like a champ. He was like he did it a million times. And I was like, wow, Roger, he loves it. And we did like 3 or 4 dabs. He was like, this is great. He loved it.
And
it was a fun story because he was like, he was just so ready for that first.
He was, of course, the lawyer who, because of his daughter who needed her medicine for epilepsy in the ARC school that she was in, he went to bat all the way, and New Jersey became really the first state to allow that on school grounds anywhere. You know, I mean, yeah, it was still not. Yeah, the mother had to go out and help her drink it at lunch and get back to her job. Everything was wrong with it, and you know,
right? Yeah, it was more of like a turn a blind eye thing rather than a it's allowed thing. But it was.
But you know, the war on drugs, namely the war on marijuana. In the end, it seems like it wore him down. I mean, it's not like it directly killed him, but it consumed such a large part of his life, and he did get to, you know, and then he was just gone like a heart issue, you know. So the whole thing about mostly the patients is they're not seen and heard enough. So Lefty's doing some video things to try to rectify that. But even for us, you know, it's like anybody that might stick around and watch the end of this, you know, it's just about a lot of people didn't get to see the end of it. And this is all, a lot of this is on their backs. So it's not like every name has a story. It's just names that you may not know.
Yeah.
But it's just here, just them being echoed and at the end of this, I don't know. It helps me. Maybe it's only for Lefties and my good. I want to feel a little bit, you know. I want to. You know.
It's good to remember all those things because, like you know, like I was talking about earlier, like, you know, all the things that people didn't have to experience and won't have to experience anymore. Like, you know, there was a lot of people that were, you know, that missed this part of it, and they were some of the ones that pushed it the most. And so it's really unfortunate that they don't get to see it, and I think it's really important that we do remember those stories and the people that they were.
Yeah.
Hello.
Pat Duff. We're not going to do the list yet because Pat Duff is here, and you got the coolest little temple there in Trenton that I've never been to a cooler temple in Trenton. That thing is amazing, bro. I really had a good time the other day, and woo, wow.
All right, I got to sign off. Okay, so enjoy yourselves.
Well, you're
okay. Bye bye, Mr.
What's
Duff.
going on? How are you guys doing?
Really
good. We're just wrapping it up with the ode to remembrance, but bam, what's going on is the question for you. We got all our shit settled.
Well, I am. Well, today I had a really good day because it's like a completion of the tabernacle stuff that I've been doing. Trying to save that town hall. We were in court today. Judge finally heard everything. The road is reopened. The building is saved. The bad politicians have been exited from the building. Mayor, deputy mayor included. So the mayor slayer's name is infamous now in the tabernacle area. had some just having some really interesting things happening since I decided to go up to Trenton. I will be a member of the Lobby Club, which is the private restaurant that all the politicians eat at. So you were talking about how, different avenues maybe we can try. The avenue I'm going to try is to make these guys my friend. And I got my hair combed nice. I got real nice shoes now.
Hair, shoes, everything in between. Damn it.
Yeah, and I'm tall and I'm white and I'm good looking.
Yeah,
So,
you can get under the radar. You're like a spy.
they don't know me yet up there.
Well, you wouldn't know a spy, of course not.
But it's not about that. It's about actually. See, I want to bridge the gap in a different way. I mean, I understand the protests, I understand all that, but I do understand that if you make these people partly your friend, you can get a lot more done.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be the avenue I take for us. For the home grow, for the rights of the people, for the
Oh man, see, we make you look good by being the way we are, and then you're like a refreshing relief of somebody who really has everything it takes to do what you got to do. This is
and that's the key. Is
I'm
the
liking
space.
it.
The space is the key, so I can bring them back to the space and say, hey, let's just sit and talk. And if you guys want to ever have a mixer here, whatever you want to do, it's on me. No problem. You can use the space. And these are people that have connections in the cannabis industry, and people in the cannabis industry they tend to like to use cannabis. So I have a cannabis friendly space, and we have our first concert coming up on September 22nd. I submitted all the applications to shut down the street, so we'll have the street shut down, and we'll have Crickets and Cicadas, who's a Grateful Dead tribute band, and I'll have a couple other hip-hop groups and maybe even a reggae band. But we're going to shut. So you guys are welcome there to put a booth up and bring Ratari put Ratari right on the stage, Ratari, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing shit.
Well, there's no real perfect template for what you're doing, but I mean, seriously, along those lines, how many mayor slayers are there in New Jersey? You're kind of it. So, you got a whole thing going other than what we do.
When we met, me and Lefty met with Gavin Rossi, who's the founder of the Oprah Machine, and Lefty's the one that told me about the Oprah Machine, and I remember we were in court somewhere. I think it was for Ed somewhere, and you're like, you told me about the Oprah Machine. I'm like, what? And he said, well, I have to thank Patrick because he is absolutely one of the most prolific first users of the machine, and it helped build the machine. So I will admit I'm probably one of the reasons the Oprah law was passed. Probably they call it the Ronco Duff Gavin Rossi law.
Well, I can say I'm very happy about that law.
There's a couple. No, and also what's his name? John Paff, who was a prolific.
Oh, he was epic. I mean, going back 30 years. I've known John Paff since about 1994 or 95. Maybe 90s, mid 90s easily. Oh, jeez.
So by the way, when's the next downtown Trenton event you're having?
23rd,
September 22nd and October. The 23rd.
Yeah.
Monday the 23rd.
Yeah. Which is the day after the big concert.
Yes.
So it'll be a good way to advertise that. So here's what I want to do. I want to offer you guys a chance to come up and hang out anytime you want in between here and there, and we'll do a podcast there from the studio, and or we just go out on the street. What I'd really like is to have Sativa Cross rent a space in the same spot I'm renting, and be a part of what I'm going to try to do, and what you're already trying to do, and what we're going to try to do, which is get home grow, and also get good regulations for patients and good medicine for people, and bring people together. I know a lot of people in the California market, Minnesota market, different markets that are actually big players in the game, and they're they don't consider New Jersey yet because the market is kind of an odd market to get into, and it seems difficult. So once people realized there was too many roadblocks, they just went to other states. So I want to help those people to realize that the roadblocks aren't as difficult. And you guys could help me do that. You really could, being in that same space, and it would give you, I think, it would give you more legitimacy. To have, in a sense, a place where you can come back to, and you're welcome to come back to me and where I'm at. But I'm saying there's office space there available for you guys too, and I'm sure I can get you at a very big discounted rate. So.
That sounds fun, and the podcast sounds fun too.
Yeah, and I got the studio there, so
I love it.
Not as cool as your street scene there, but
this is ridiculous. We brought this to the Bayonne Council. This is the diorama we brought to the council. Dangerous.
So
this intersection is. This is the intersection where the guy threw bottles at me. They spit on me. I had the psych exam right over here. It's a lot of memories. Making a lot of memories here in this intersection.
So you want to hear an interesting tidbit from today at the hearing? There was one of the, so the question at the hearing was, should the judge allow this road to be reopened, and is this building in imminent danger of collapse or not? Right. So, and I mean, Town Hall in Tabernacle, New Jersey, a bunch of, lawyers basically, a bunch of politicians and professionals basically voted to demolish this building. I stepped in, helped them raise some money. We hired a lawyer, got an injunction. And today was a hearing because there was a lot of things that have happened and transpired since then. But when one of the people for the township side who were still arguing the building is in imminent danger of collapse, even though an independent engineer went in and said it's not, our attorney, Matt Litt, asked him, they said, hey, you just said you lived in Tabernacle, right? And what happened was, after the judge ruled or set the injunction and said the building couldn't be demolished, he also said that the road should stay closed until he issues his final ruling. But the township reopened the road. They reopened the road because political pressure was so great. They figured if they did that, it might take some of that pressure off. Not long after they reopened the road, 20-something days after, the judge happened to get word that the road was reopened against his order and ordered the road to be closed again. Now, in between the time he ordered the road to be closed again and the road being closed, the township allowed a celebration to happen around the old town hall that they claimed was about to collapse, where people had chairs all around it. So one of an architect that claimed that the building was going to collapse was being questioned by our attorney, and he had just stated that his number one job is public safety. That's why he had recommended for this building to be demolished, that would be the best thing for public safety at the time, and that's his job, to make sure the public is safe, right? So Matt said, hey, is it true that you live in Tabernacle, right? Yeah, I live in Tabernacle. And after they reopened the road, what did you do to have the road closed again? If you're the one that's saying this building's about to collapse into the road, and you're a resident, and you're about public safety, what did you do to have the road closed again? And this guy developed a Joe Biden stutter like no other. It was just incredible to see. And it was funny because the judge, 4 different professionals came to court and said, or 3 at this point, said the building can fall down. But one professional who said the building is not going to fall down was so much more believable that the judge basically, muted out the people who said it's going to fall down's testimony and accepted the other person. So the credibility was there, and it just feels good. It really feels good at the end of this 6-month fight with this township to try to save this building, to know that I actually did save the building, that bad politicians are out of the mix. And now that I'm in Trenton, by the way, I've already found some of my next targets. And Greater Trenton Incorporated, the guy who works there, by the way, they don't answer the phone, they don't answer emails, nobody's there when I go by the office. In the last, from 2017 to 2022, why don't you guess how much this man has made in a 6-year period from a nonprofit for economic development that nobody can figure out what they do? Throw me a number. 6 years, how much?
200,000.
In 6 years? I mean, that would mean he'd make only like 30,000 a year.
You talk okay.
Okay, how about a year per year? 200,000? That's a lot. The governor gets paid 177, right? Jim, how much does the governor get paid? You know?
He's
Jim.
muted. The ex-president gets 400, right? Or ex-presidents get 400. So the governor.
Well, if I had to get, honestly, I could look stupid here, but I would. How about 125,000?
The governor gets $177. This
Wow.
guy, in 6 years with benefits and with his pay, has brought in $1.9 million for an organization that we still can't figure out what they do. So what I'm going to do is I am going to find organizations like that in Trenton that they don't show up, that if they do show up, they show up for an hour or two to collect their check on a Friday and get the hell out of there, and they're never in Trenton ever, any other time. Because I'm going to focus on these pieces of shit nonprofits that are out there that are stealing from the people, and they're not doing anything for Trenton. The downtown is desolate of business, and it should be inspired for business to come there. If I had the same amount of finances, this guy gets about $1.1 million a year in donations, and half of it goes to his fucking salary, basically, and operational expenses. And oh, by the way, consulting expenses, even though the people on his board are from Johnson & Johnson, Thomas Edison University. So it doesn't make any sense. None of that makes any sense. But that being said, I'm going to identify these nonprofits, and I'm going to actually create an actual economic development association in Trenton that benefits the community and benefits the businesses and brings people to the downtown for reasons other than to come to a gala to and then leave as quickly as possible and not stay in Trenton. So my goal is to now create some nonprofits like yours, by the way, with you guys coming in, it'd be great, where I can help siphon some of these donations into these nonprofits that actually will do things like get rights for wheelchair patients like you, Lefty. Like, what if you came into Trenton and did a whole tour around Trenton? And I'm sure, I mean, I know
mess.
in the
Right in
building
front
I'm
of the
in.
State House. It's a mess. Hey, you can join our nonprofit anytime, Pat. Doors open for you, bro.
I understand, but all I'm saying is that there's these nonprofits that do absolutely nothing, and as long as they have an address in Trenton near the State House, they seem to be able to get a lot of money.
Huh.
Yeah, man. I figured this out, man.
Yeah, that's really ambitious. I mean, not to mention a very laudatory thing to do. Are you going to run for office after this? This is like almost, I mean, seriously, that's the kind of thing that would help you get a career started, and you're almost made for it,
Yeah, 100% I am.
Okay.
So, but that's, at this point, I want to show what I can do, and I think.
No, I mean, no, your resume. I mean, just throwing in the whole tabernacle thing, and all the other things that I know of. You have a very interesting resume, and this is it's going to go over well,
Yeah,
how many people live in Trenton? It's not a big number.
I
sure.
believe somewhere just under Camden. I think it's around 65,000. Let me see.
I'm just saying it's not like a big city, for a state capital. I would think
89,000.
Really?
89,660.
That's more than I would have thought. Well, good.
But
I
But
think
but
like 8,000 people voted for the last election.
yeah, you see, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But the key is, I think, is like, listen, guys, let's be honest. I mean, how many times have we been out there? You see the people walk by, they just walk by, right?
Hmm.
What the difference with me being in that restaurant, with me having my hair comb right, with me having some flashy clothes on, nice shoes, is they're not threatened by me. I'm one of them at that point. Oh, who's this guy? He's one of us, right? And all of a sudden, I bring them into a spot. Oh my God, people are smoking pot in here, and then they feel comfortable. Like, well, I smoke pot too. Great. Well, I can sell you pot at the cheapest price you'll get, and that makes them my friend. And that's where I'm at. So that's the goal of this weird mission I'm on. I don't know. I quit my job. I don't really have a lot of money to do this, but I think it's going to work. I think ultimately God's going to make it work. I do. I think there's a higher power at work here. So,
Well, you opened up a temple in Trenton. It's a place where patients can come
more than patients,
receive sacrament.
yeah. Anybody that's 21 and above in New Jersey. I mean, I'm not gonna. You don't have to have a medical. Everybody's got the condition of being a human being.
Yeah, everybody's a patient.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
I mean, for real, yeah. Again, and the first time I heard that, it was a long time ago, and even then, it sounded like that'd be possible, but no, not everybody. And just the fact.
I'll say this. It's not for everybody.
No.
But everybody that needs it should be able to have access to it.
Fucking
And right
right.
now,
Yeah.
through the current system, people don't have access to enough medicine. And I want to try to help alleviate that portion too. So.
Or a specific kind that really does work for them, or yeah, really.
I've never had cannabis from Oklahoma before, and it was absolutely some of the best cannabis I ever had in my life. And I'm like, wow, whoa.
I can't. Please, I have nothing to say on that.
Yeah, it's just good stuff, man. Woo!
Fantastic. Yes.
I smoked a lot of pot in Oklahoma, but it's 40 years ago, so.
Yeah, it's not the same shit, brother.
I don't think it's relevant. I'm just saying,
So here's where I want to end this for my. I want to just let you guys understand that I appreciate everything you guys have done, especially you and Jim and Lefty. By the way, I mean, if you counted the hours you guys have put into what this whole movement, it would be probably in the tens of thousands at least.
It's up there.
And to say to understand that, you guys deserve a seat where when somebody comes in like them, Scutari, whoever it might be, one of these lawmakers walks in, that you actually have the office there for them to walk in and sit in front of you and be taken more seriously than you are at a tent in front of the building. And the only reason I'm saying that is, number one, I love you guys, and I want you to be near me more. But number two, I think that if I can build this space out that I have here with organizations like yours, and with me, and with the common interest and goal, it becomes more powerful of an organization, and more than that, it becomes its own machine. We have to build a machine. Single organizations are bound to be destroyed by a machine, which is multiple organizations and elected representatives in one. So that's my goal, man.
Right on. I want to help you achieve that goal in every way possible. I've always supported you from day one, man. You've always been doing wonderful things for the community, for civil rights, for human rights, for disability. You've done it all. You've slayed the mayors, the worst mayors in the state. You've slayed them. Amazing.
Well, let's do this. Let's just make sure we. I think we. Timelines are important when you're setting goals, right? So you say, okay, how long will I stay in this certain position to be here till I want to be in the next position? That's one goal. You say. Do I want to be here is another thing. So if you don't want to be somewhere, your first goal is get the fuck out of there, right? So I did that. I've had a goal, you've had a goal for home grow, right? So that goal seems not be able to be achieved because I think we're being overrun by the lobbyists, and these lobbyists don't represent the people. They don't represent medical patients. They don't represent poor people, elderly, people on fixed incomes. And I think that as a group, that if think of it like almost like a political campaign, right? So you say, well, how many people are in these groups that represent these wealthy people? There's not that many. The MCOs, like the MSOs. I'm sorry, and what do they really donate to these lobbying organizations and have their interests, right? If you took like 25 cents, not even like 10 cents from every person that really is a cannabis smoker that supports the rights of their own to grow and to not be arrested for doing so, we would have 10 times the finances they do, and we could crush them. So that's the goal, is to try to get that out there, to try to say that we are the lobby for the people, that we're here to make the lawmakers aware that people have a voice too. And I think that would be probably the most powerful thing that we could do as a group is to form that kind of coalition where we do give people a voice. You've already done that, right? You've already done that. You do it every night. But to do it right there with them, with an office, with an address, with mail, with the ability to accept these donations at this single address that has all these different entities that are doing things, it just makes it so that we become a force, we become a machine. And
so you think you'll be able to dig down and find some shit out about who are these people that come in, have the address, do their nonprofit business, make a good money out of getting whatever donation?
I've already been cracking the code, big guy.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I'm at it's this to me it's very fascinating. Jim, I get to use the word vicarious again tonight. I get to really live vicariously through your efforts because they're not small at this point.
Jim, imagine this. So once you realize that everything that's done on a local level then could be done on a county level, that could be done on a state level, and then on a federal level, nothing's different except for the rules and how you do it, right? How much you can bid, how public bidding goes, how emergent situations are. They're all very similar, by the way. So once you learn municipal government, then you can kind of understand county government, you can understand state government, or if you understand state government prior to that, then you can kind of go backwards. But municipal government's the most important in New Jersey because how many municipalities are there, right?
566.
There you go, you see? So you have all these different laws, but they all operate by similar standards. So once you understand that, you go, oh, okay. And all their budgets, by the way, have to be written in a certain form, so you can kind of just cruise through the budget and find line items, right? Boom, here's Parks and Recreation. Boom, there's how much they had to pay out in lawsuits. Boom, here's, you know what I mean? So so once you start learning that, you become more powerful, and then they realize that, oh, well, this guy understands how the game works. And then they kind of want to leave you either out of the hit pieces or whatever it may be, or they respect you enough then to give you the answers that you deserve. So that's why when I do Oprah requests, I get different responses than most people. Or if I show up to meetings, all of a sudden people are offering me a seat in the back, like in Lavalette, hey, Mr. Duff, take a seat right here, because they're scared. And they know that I'm not scared of them. You guys aren't scared of them. So if we're together, boy, man. So it's not a sales pitch. Just figure out how to get. I'll give you a really nice office for $300 a month. How you like that? No, $500. And I'll help you get the donations to pay for it. If we're in the same building, I'm telling you, we can get donations from all the different people that are smokers, that are gray market people, that are black market people. They all want to be protected.
Well, I know I'll be spending more time at your temple, that's for sure.
All right, my brothers.
No,
Love
this
you.
is very interesting. Your tenacity is second to none.
Well, it was curbed for a while. I'm glad it's not curbed right now. So
Yeah.
I feel better. All right,
Yeah.
brothers. I love you, man.
Love you too,
Thank you,
man.
brother. We love you too.
That's fascinating. Holy shit! And seriously, he will not be put back or stopped.
Wow.
I don't. What is it about him? I mean, where does he
Wow.
get that from?
Well, he had cancer a couple of years ago, and
Yeah, but
that really motivated him to want to do something with his life. Recently, he took a few years off, and now he's ready to fight. And this is what he wants to do with his life. He wants to fight.
He's jumping all in. You know.
Yeah,
It's really interesting to watch that because it's not going to be stagnant, and it's not going to be like he thinks, and then he's going to have workarounds. But Jesus, anybody that he'll find out what he needs to find out. His research is unbelievable, and his effortless way at filing requests that need to be filed and staying on it. It's unbelievable, You hit your wagon to that.
Gavin
a
was
little bit. All right, well.
Yeah, him, Gavin, and Bongholio in the same room. We're all talking. That was cool. And Jock too. So our list begins tonight with Cheryl Miller, Jim's late wife, who suffered from MS. And she inspired me because I didn't know that cannabis helped MS till I saw what it did for Cheryl. And eye-opening. Sabina Rose was a 15-month-old baby who died from a 25-hour seizure. Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger Barber, who you talked about before, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lulu, Becky, LaWanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, and Jeff. Hurtful, hopeful, helpful. Sometimes it's all three.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, a lot of suffering on that list. A lot of people suffering, man. And that's why we do what we do. That's why we're continuing to do this for little to no pay, actually negative pay. We're actually paying out of our pocket to do a lot of the stuff that we do. And
the contributions made by those people, the sum, it's kind of staggering.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. The name should just be said out loud.
1 out of 10 patients die. At least we knew that a few years ago, but they don't release those numbers anymore. But they used to release the numbers. I guess they're trying to hide those numbers. Maybe they're afraid of those numbers, but it used to be 1 out of 10 patients die.
Yeah, they don't want to do anything they don't have to do. And the first year it was 10% because we had like 6,000 patients and 600 died that year. And then as it grew, the percentage would go down a little bit. But
it's probably because in the beginning it was mostly for terminal things. And as it's grown, it's more grown into the things that are less terminal.
So what I like to do is say if it was that, I would say what if it was 2%? It's almost like the thing is if they're not going to have statistics, we get to extrapolate whatever we want. So when you bargain it down to that and say, 2%, but the thing is, if there was 80,000 patients,
it's the same amount of people.
Well, now all of a sudden that's
16.
And then it boils down to 1 every 4 hours or 6 hours or something like that. There's a number. So if you're having an event, it's like there's a 50-50 chance somebody's dying while we're out here today, somewhere in New Jersey. Statistically speaking, that's what worked to get veterans barged through that door at PTSD for everybody else that needed it too, saying 22 a day, 22 a day. 22 veterans commit suicide every damn day. That's a powerful number, and it's hard to, you can't combat that even with logic if you had any, so I don't know if why they stopped doing that after about 4 years, I think, with maybe 5 years. But the worst it ever, the lowest it got was, I think, somewhere between 6 and 7% the last year or so. I don't know how you make that real, but think of it like a campaign. Oh, think of it even like a national campaign. Suppose a candidate for president made a wreath laying at Arlington National Cemetery, and it didn't work out like the way they wanted. It's not a coincidence. It's somebody who's the wife of somebody buried there, not to do with any of that, but, speaking out against it. It doesn't have to make sense. And what we have is people like me, people who help somebody, well, for a long time with this. And mothers have lost children, husbands have lost wives, it's like, where's Joe Rippertella now? Diane's husband. I mean, feel like it's almost like what an unsightly task to try to find people, to make it more real somehow. Anyway, I used to be good at that, but after, when the subject is more than 21 years ago, kind of loses its power.
Sam, do you have a website or something you want to promote before we go?
That's right. That's the one thing I was thinking of. You said you were getting one.
Well, all right, let's see if we can get it to not bite. There we go. Join the fight for Homegrow, guys.
Hold on a second. Yeah, how do I do this? Hold on.
There we go.
It's gonna take a second.
Hey, leave it there. I think I could see. Hold on. Let me see if I can get it. I'm gonna see if it works for me. No, closer. Put it closer or further. I'm not sure. Yeah, it works. It works. Yeah.
There we go.
It works.
NJHomegrow.com.
Hold on.
For
Hold
anyone
on.
having trouble scanning it.
Take a picture of it, Jim.
Yeah, I'm slowly trying to get my camera up to speed.
It works. It'll
There
work.
you go.
It's pretty cool. I love technology. Whoop, whoop. And what
Yeah,
does that
there
bring
it
you?
is. Look
What
at
does
that.
bring you?
That's
Sam,
awesome.
what does that bring you?
I got it.
That will bring you to our website, njhomegrow.com. On there, we have a few different links to contact legislators. If you click on any of those links, it will generate a pre-written email for you.
Oh yeah.
We know that's kind of the the tough part of contacting your legislators is like what to say.
Yeah.
So we've kind of used some of the technology features that we have available to us these days, and so when you click on that, it'll actually open up your email, whether on your computer or your phone, and it will pre-write the email for you. And all you have to do is sign your name at the bottom and hit send. It's already addressed to all the right people as well. You're welcome to personalize it and add your own little touch if you feel like it, but it's definitely not required. And that can go a long way in helping us to let more legislators know that you really care about that. And then also on there, we try and link, current news articles about what's going on, different events we have going on, petitions and other things to try and get more people involved, and different events that we have going on to try and educate people. So it's a good resource to try and keep up the fight.
May I say, to add on to that, in all my years, I spent a lot of time whenever a legislature was with us on anything, I'd ask him questions. I try to get knowledge of what it's like at his end. And one of the things I asked is going back decades. And I was surprised at the answer. I said, okay, when you get like what do you call it, a sign-on letter sort of thing, and how do you rate that up against individual things coming in? You know what I'm saying? Like, does it dilute the other if 100 people just signed on the exact same letter? And I was expecting that wouldn't count as much as 100 different ones coming in. I don't know why I would assume that. And he said, no, actually, something that shows organization gets taken more seriously than the individuals as coming in strays. And so, like, I don't know. It was revealing.
Yeah, that's interesting to know, because I can see how.
Well, no, it was very. And it doesn't matter what kind of sign on it. It doesn't, it's individual signatures. If they're from New Jersey, and they take it seriously. So it's really good to have a place to go that easy. And, I think that's probably my second QR code that I've taken a picture of. And it was just funny to see it all of a sudden square up with something around it. And there's the www right there,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that old guy, like, wow, that's some amazing technology. I know how, but it is,
Yeah,
So-
no, it is so cool.
Are you going to ode to remembrance us out, or?
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we're going to be out of here. We end this with the ode of remembrance. It goes like this: They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age
shall not wear them, nor the years condemn.
At the going down of the sun, and in the morning we
We
will.
will remember them. Damn
Thanks,
right we
everybody.
will. Hey, Sam, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Sam. Great job.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Yeah.